27-year-old forklift operator Terrell Brown is suing his former friend, 13-year-old Kaylee Pritchett, and her mother, Wendy Pritchett, for having him falsely arrested. Kaylee says Terrell pulled a gun on her.
Yeah, this is case number 546 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Pritchett. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
This is your daughter?
Yes.
How old are you?
13.
You, Mrs. Pritchett, have no first-hand knowledge of the facts surrounding this case, only what your daughter told you. Is that right?
This is true. Yes, thank you.
Why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Mr. Brown, it's your complaint that this young lady filed a false police report about you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And as a result of that false police report, you spent a day in jail. You had to hire a lawyer. You had to come up with some bail.
Yes.
Well, let's start with how you know each other. Who wants to tell me how you know each other? Nobody. So let's start with you, Mr. Brown. Why don't you tell me how you know this 13-year-old girl?
Well, I had a neighbor that lived next door to me, and she would come over there with her friends and ask...
This young lady would come over to your neighbor's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
With her friends. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who is this neighbor of yours?
His name was Jimmy.
You know Jimmy?
Yes, Your Honor.
How far does Jimmy live from where you were living?
About a block away.
And you would go over to Jimmy's house? How old is Jimmy?
22.
He was a friend of yours?
Kinda. I didn't really know him.
Well, what would you go over to his house for?
We just went over there, and like me and my friends, we would go over there and talk to him until later on when he started buying alcohol, and we would go
Keep
there.
your voice up. All right, so you would go over and talk to him for a while, and then later on he would buy alcohol?
Yes.
What would he do with the alcohol?
He would give it to us, and we would either sometimes drink it with him, or we would leave and go drink it somewhere else.
Who would you go over to Jimmy's house with?
Just me and like 3 other friends.
Well, what are their names?
Like Jasmine.
Not like. I want to hear their names.
Jasmine, Brittany.
Jasmine. How old is Jasmine?
14.
Who else?
Brittany, and she's 15. Jessica, who's 13. That's pretty much.
All right, so you and your 3 friends would go over to this 22-year-old boy, man,
Yeah.
person's house. And after chatting, he would buy you alcohol, which you would either consume there or you would take elsewhere. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to Jimmy?
He moved out.
I'm still not hearing how you know. Your name is Kaylee?
Yes.
Kaylee.
After he moved out, she would come over then, because Jimmy was my friend. So after he moved out, her and her friends would ask me to buy him alcohol. So I did on occasions twice.
So that this young lady who's 13 years old and her 14, 15, and 13-year-old friend came over and said, well, Jimmy's not here anymore, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Huh?
Yes.
So would you buy us alcohol? Who asked him to buy you alcohol?
All of us did.
Did you pay him for it?
No, we didn't.
You didn't pay him for it with money?
No.
Did you pay him for it with anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, why did you buy these children alcohol, sir?
Well, I knew they weren't 21, but I also knew that they said that they were older than what they were. You know, she said that she was 16. And
Well, they certainly weren't old enough to buy alcohol, because if they were old enough to buy alcohol, Mr. Brown, they would have bought it themselves.
Yes, they would have.
So why would you buy children alcohol?
It was wrong for me to do. But
Right. How many times did he buy you alcohol, Kaylee?
At least 5 times that I can remember.
Well, there come a time, Kaylee, that you and your friends got annoyed with him and vandalized his car?
No, Your Honor.
Did you put snow in his car?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's vandalizing his car. Who put snow in his car? Is not an answer.
I did, and my friend Jesse.
Now, why did you do that, Kaylee?
Well, he wouldn't answer his door, and then we went and knocked on his window, and he was sleeping, and we told him that we were going to go fill his car up with snow if he didn't.
If he didn't what?
Answer his door. And then,
Well, why did you want him to answer the door, Kaylee?
I do not remember. It was a while ago. I don't remember why we went there. But
Well, would you go there for any other reason than for him to buy alcohol?
yeah, sometimes we went over there just to hang out and to listen to music or to get cigarettes. And then
So you either wanted alcohol or cigarettes when you went to his house, and he wouldn't open the door. Is that right?
Your Honor.
So as a result of that, you and your friend opened up his car doors and filled his car up with snow.
Yes, Your Honor.
And
Sorry. Sorry.
you think I'm being too hard on her?
No.
Good.
I just wanted to add something.
Perfect.
Sorry.
After you filled his car up with snow, what happened?
Me and my friend, we just took off, and then we didn't come back for a few weeks.
But then you decided to come back.
Yes, Your Honor.
For what?
More alcohol.
And did he answer the door this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did he buy you the alcohol?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did there come a time he decided not to buy alcohol for you?
No, Your Honor.
Well, tell me about the time that you allege that he pulled a gun on you. Because that's what the complaint was.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about that.
Well, I went down and I met my friend, and then...
Friend who?
My friend Heather. And she brought two other people, Desiree and this other girl I did not even know. And Desiree has always had a problem with me. She did not like me. And when we ran away together, we would always go over to Terrell's house and we would get alcohol. And that day she wanted...
When did you run away?
I came back on Thanksgiving. I left like a week before Thanksgiving.
Why did you run away?
I do not even know. I just decided that I didn't want to be home, and me and my friends just left home and didn't come back.
Who lives in your house?
My mother, my father, and my two brothers.
How old are your brothers?
They're 12 and almost 9, so 8.
So you set the example for your two older brothers. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. 27-year-old Terrell Brown says his former friend, 13-year-old Kaylee Pritchett, had him falsely arrested and thrown in jail. Kaylee says she and her friends used Terrell to buy alcohol and cigarettes.
Does your mother beat you?
No, Your Honor.
What about your father?
No, Your Honor.
Do they give you food?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you sleep shackled to a radiator?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then can you explain to me why you and your friend left home?
Just because we wanted to get out of my house because my parents had strict rules, and
Well, I'd like you to tell me about the strict rules.
that we couldn't do anything. We could not smoke.
You couldn't smoke. You should couldn't smoke.
We
What
couldn't
else?
leave the house after like 9 p.m.
Couldn't leave. You got this? You're following this.
I'm following.
You couldn't smoke. You couldn't drink, I assume. And you couldn't leave the house after 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Is she behaving any better now?
Yes. It's been a long haul, but yeah.
For how long?
Probably, I'd say since Thanksgiving, since she came home, and she's been in counseling with us as a family, and it's helped a
Great.
lot.
Kaylee, you do not sound like an unintelligent girl, which means that it seems to me that you have the necessary brain cells to be okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Some people, unfortunately for them, are born and they have to struggle. Sounds to me as if you don't have to struggle. You're just putting all of your efforts in the wrong direction.
Thank you.
But unfortunately, when you start to make mistakes when you're 13, unless you fix them fast, they last your whole life. So it's nice to hear from your mother that you seem to be doing better the last several months. You're doing better in school.
Yes, Your Honor.
What about these girlfriends of yours?
I do not speak to them anymore.
That sounds like a perfect idea. Now, let's get back to the gun episode.
Well, I went and met my friends and this girl, Desiree.
And you went to his house for alcohol.
Yes, and she told me that if I did not end up getting it, the house can get beat up, so I was doing everything that I could to get it.
Desiree said to you, if you don't get into the house and get some alcohol from Mr. Brown, I'm going to beat you up.
Yes.
Is that
Your Honor.
is that the story that you're selling today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, come on, I'm listening.
We went over to his house, and he said he was going to get it, but he had a few errands to run. And Desiree's like, do not let him leave. I was like, all right. So Desiree went outside when he was leaving, and we sat on his hood of his car. And I got on after her, and we weren't going to let him leave. So he decided to go back inside. Well, he wasn't going to let us in, so we all pushed the door back open, and we got in.
Got into his house?
Yeah, when he was right there. But and
Well,
like
you pushed the door to get into his house? That's trespassing. That's a crime. You know that. You understand that. That's a crime. First of all, you sat on his car and vandalized it, and then you pushed your way into his house. That's a crime. That's trespass.
And then he told us to leave, and Desiree said no. And then we all decided not to leave. So he kicked this chair, and then he threw his keys down, and he said he'll make us leave. Well, then he went into the room, and he came back out, and he was putting something in the back of his pants. And he sat down, and he told us to leave, and Desiree said, oh, you think you're all bad now because you got a gun? And that's when he freaked out, and he said leave, and we said no, and that's when he pulled out the gun. And the first thing I did was run out the door, and my friends came right after me, and he came outside, and he was yelling just on the top of his lungs, just yelling at us, and we just took off, and we went home. And we did not call the cops till the next day.
What'd you call the police for?
Because we were scared, because he was telling us about all
you have to do is not go over and bother him anymore.
Well,
Oh. Mr. Brown, how old are you?
27.
You spent the day in jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good for you. Probably should have spent a couple more. I'm not sure whether you had a gun or whether you didn't have a gun. Certainly, Kaylee here had no right being in your house, had no right committing a crime. You told her to leave. You understand that, Ms. Pritchett?
Yes.
You told her to leave. She didn't leave with her friends. He begged her to leave. They threatened him. All of that, Mr. Brown, was brought about by your actions because you supplied the girls with alcohol. And that's what happens when you do the wrong thing. When you do the wrong thing, you never know where it's going to come back and bite you in the behind. You understand, Mr. Brown?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you knew you were wrong, and you knew it would come out to no good, right?
Yep.
So, there's an old legal doctrine, and it's called the doctrine of clean hands. And it means when a person comes to court, and you're asking a court to do the right thing, you have to come to court and say, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't bring on any of this myself. I have clean hands. You can't come here and say I have clean hands. You committed a crime by furnishing alcohol to minors. I want you to make yourself feel a little bit better, Mr. Brown. Say the police arrested you and held you for 24 hours because you broke the law by supplying alcohol to minors instead of for threatening them with a gun. Either way, you spent a day in jail. It wasn't enough. You contributed to the delinquency of minors by furnishing them alcohol. And you're just lucky that none of them either got sick or got hurt as a result of becoming intoxicated with the alcohol you provided them, Mr. Brown. We understand each other.
Yes, Your Honor.
Goodbye.
The parties are excused. You may step out.
They came over, wanted me to buy him alcohol, so I bought it for him, and that was it.
He's older. You'd think he'd be wiser not to buy minors alcohol and cigarettes.
I messed up, and I did stuff I shouldn't have done.
You want to see the best for your kids, and she hasn't been smart.
Keeping school and not do it. It's not worth it to get yourself in trouble and put your parents in pain.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of LeManc versus Minor. Step forward.
23-year-old Gerald LeManc is suing fellow partygoer Daryl Minor for knocking over his laptop computer during a party. Gerald says Daryl had been drinking all day.
Mr. LeManc?
Yes.
You attended a 30th anniversary party at the home of the defendant?
No, it was at the home of a friend of mine.
Defendant was a guest.
Yes.
And you brought your computer with you in order to play music.
Correct.
And it is your claim that Mr. Minor damaged your computer.
Correct.
Mr. Minor says that you balanced this computer in a very precarious way, that he did bump into it, but nothing happened to it, and you shouldn't have brought it anyway. Right, so far?
Right, so far, yes.
Good. When was this party?
August 21st.
Now, what prompted you to bring your computer?
I brought the computer for musical entertainment.
Didn't they have a radio?
We did have a radio on top of 2 speakers, along with the computer.
Okay, so you had 2 big speakers. How tall were the speakers?
About 3 or 4 feet tall. I have pictures.
I'd like to see pictures.
I have pictures of where the computer was and that it was balanced on the speakers.
Oh, I see where it is. I see it's balanced on one of the speakers.
And the ground there was quite level, and the speakers were level.
I see where it's balanced on one of the speakers.
With room to spare. There's room around the whole
It's
computer.
balanced on one of the speakers. Okay, now who saw Mr. Minor damage the computer? Okay, step up. Who are you?
My name's Raylene Luby, and I'm his cousin.
Whose cousin?
Daryl, Mr. Minor.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a tent there, And so I went outside the tent by the computer and where the beer was, and I was getting a beer. And he came around the corner and he said, "What are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, he fell forward onto his knees, and the thing slammed shut. The speaker moved. He straightened the speaker back up, stood back up. I walked around. I said, "Jerry, you better go look at your computer." Daryl fell on it.
When he fell on it, it was during the afternoon?
No, it was nighttime.
Had you spoken to Mr. Minor earlier that evening?
Yeah.
Was he fine?
Well, he was drunk.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. He was drunk.
Sure.
What do you mean, sure? I mean, you don't necessarily go to a
drinking
party
all
and
day.
get drunk. What?
He was quite drunk.
So when he fell on the computer, he was drunk?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Go.
Your Honor, when I got there, it started at 3 o'clock. My wife and I showed up. They were playing Irish music. Party went on.
Can we get to the computer, Mr. Minor? Do you remember falling?
I remember hitting the speaker. I was going for a beer. There was a space maybe about 2 foot to get in there. The way the speaker was set up, it was set up so you had to go around it a little bit, which I did.
Did you have too much to drink, Mr. Minor? Your cousin says you did.
Well, they had Jello shots there.
Did you have too much to drink?
Did I have too much to drink? No, I was walking. I didn't have that much to drink.
I have 2 pictures there, Your Honor, with him with a beer cup in his hand, and that he was drinking all day long.
Well, I assume that
It's
he
an
was.
anniversary party for my cousins.
Okay.
I live
So what
around the
happened?
corner.
So what happened to the computer? Is that what it looks like now?
Yes. The computer was damaged, the screen from here to here, and in between in the middle. And it's shattered.
What do you want to say? First, who are you?
I'm Miss White.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that he wasn't the only one that was drunk. Everybody at the party was drunk. That's why I left early. I do not drink, and it's no fun being with a bunch of people who are drinking.
I'm with you.
So I left. So he was not the only one drunk, and he was not the only one who probably bumped into that speaker.
Well, that you don't know. All you know is that that's his cousin.
Right.
She said the computer was working on top of the speaker. He was drunk, and he fell over, and he knocked it over, and that's what happened.
Right, that's what she says, because she was drunk too.
That may be. However, there's no question that the computer was broken, right?
We don't know that.
Well,
it's
I know
broken
that.
now.
Well, I know that. I mean, did she have a vendetta against you? Listen, Mr. Minor, when you drink, and sometimes you don't remember what happens because you drink too much, sometimes it turns out okay, and sometimes it doesn't turn out okay. In this case, it did not turn out okay. He's allowed to bring his computer to the party. He's allowed to place it someplace, and if you weren't intoxicated, then I would say, well, it's an accident. You fell over, and that's what happens. But when you allow yourself to become inebriated to the extent where you're not steady on your feet and damage occurs, you're responsible, sir. There's no question you're responsible. Then there may have been a lot of other people who were drinking, and there may have been a lot of other people who could have fallen over, but they didn't. You did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $757. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If he would have stepped up like a man in the first place and paid for it, we wouldn't have had to worry about all this.
It's a party. They got Jello shots there. They had everything there, you know, vodka and watermelon and brownies, you know, it's good, that good kind of stuff.
When I called him about it a week later, he had forgotten all about it and denied.
Customer service rep Dolores Harris is suing her son's fiancée, 22-year-old retail manager Stacy Showers, for falsely accusing her of violating a no-contact order. Stacy is countersuing for harassment.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 284 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Showers. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Harris, Miss Showers is your son's fiancée.
Yes.
I assume this is your son.
Yes, it is.
I gather that you and your future daughter-in-law do not get along.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
that's not what this case is about. You claim that your future daughter-in-law had you falsely arrested,
Yes, ma'am.
as a result of which you spent a night in jail, and you want to be compensated for that.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant says that you violated a protective order and that you've made her life miserable over the past 6 months, harassed her. She is counterclaiming. I gather that in May of this year, you, according to you, were fed up with the way Miss Showers was treating your son, and you decided to confront her.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went to her place of business.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? And where did she work?
She works for Martin's grocery store.
How long had she worked there?
I believe she's been there about a year now.
How large is the town where you live?
It's a very small town.
How many grocery stores are there in town?
2.
Which is the bigger one?
Martin's.
And what's the other one?
It's Food Lion.
So you went to her place of business in May, and according to you, you had words with her, and when she was attempting to walk away, you grabbed her by the arm because you weren't finished talking to her.
I didn't grab her, I touched her arm.
As a result of her going into the store in May, you filed a complaint with the police, and they issued a no-contact order. So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to court on that no-contact order in June.
Yes, ma'am.
June 29th, according to your complaint. And so you had been served with the no-contact order, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you decided on June 29th that you wanted to buy some flowers for a friend. Why? She's sick?
She just had surgery.
And you decided to go to the store where Miss Showers works to get the flowers. And according to your statement, you called first to see if she was there. She wasn't there, so you went there. Rather than going to the Food Lion to get your flowers, you went to her store to get your flowers. And while you were there, she came in.
Yes, ma'am.
Subsequently, she filed a violation of the protective order, of the no-contact order, saying you had no right to be in her place of business, causing a scene, calling her a name, doing whatever. You had no right to even be there. Based upon that violation of going to her store, you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you're complaining about, because you say that subsequently you pled guilty to an assault that happened in May, and she was given a permanent no-contact order?
12 months.
12 months. That you agree that she was entitled to, and you agreed to stay away from her and behave yourself for 12 months, and if after that 12-month period there is no contact, the case will be dismissed against you.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And what you're complaining about is that you say she should not have had you arrested for going into the store after court on June 29th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have 1 minute to explain to me why it was necessary, right after you went to court on a charge of assault, which you subsequently pled guilty to, that you found it necessary to go to her place of business, a place of business where she was employed for a year. Explain it to me, Ms. Harris.
When the warrant was issued, I was never
Don't tell me warrant.
Okay.
Just tell me why the day that you went to court on a charge of assault, an assault that you pled guilty to, you found it necessary to go to the store where she worked for anything.
Well, Your Honor, I have here where I had been in that store several times previous and there was no problems.
I'm not talking about previous. I'm talking about the day you went to court for assaulting her. I mean, you weren't going there to get penicillin. You explained to me why you found it imperative to go to that store on that day.
Because, Your Honor, we live in a small town. The store where Stacy works is the only store that is open that time of morning. I called, as I did on these other occasions.
Just a second. Let me stop you right there. What time in the morning did you go over?
It was about 10 o'clock, 10:15.
Really? What time had you gone to court that day?
It was 10.
So you're telling me 15 minutes after you left court, you went to the store?
I went directly after.
Immediately after?
Yes, ma'am.
You left court?
Yes, ma'am.
You decided to go to the store where she works?
No, actually, I had...
That's what you just told me. You told me you went to court at 10, and at that time in the morning...
Yes, ma'am.
At that time in the morning, there's no other store open, and you needed flowers, so immediately from the courthouse, you went to the store where she worked?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
You got a problem, Miss Harris. You got a problem with me. There are other places you could have gone to get something for your sick friend, and if you couldn't get flowers anywhere else, and if you didn't want to go pick them yourself, buy her a box of candy. But you don't go to the same venue where you had previously assaulted the defendant, because you pled guilty to that assault, to buy your sick friend flowers. That's outrageous. And then suing her for having you falsely arrested. She had every right to have you arrested. And she didn't even have you arrested on that day. She waited, but evidently other things happened between that date in June and the date she ultimately complained about the conduct, because you clearly are not satisfied and not happy with your son's choice of mates. And finally she said, I've had enough. I'm going to complain about it. You have no case, and I suggest you stop behaving yourself. Now, let me get to your counterclaim. Let me hear it.
Mrs. Harris over here, she's ever since the incident in May, she's done nothing but try to torment me, try to get us kicked out.
Get the specifics.
Okay, I have here where she sent Mr. Jeffries here at voicemail saying that if I came to my apartment, that she would make our life hell, and Steve can bear.
Was it your voicemail?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. What did your mother say on the voicemail?
Basically, if she came back to the apartment where she was staying.
She was staying with you?
Yes, she was at the time.
No,
of the
she was
incident.
not.
Shh.
That she would, quote, stomp her and watch my mom go to jail.
Well, whose apartment was it?
It's my apartment. She lives upstairs.
Okay, and you don't live together now?
Not now, no.
Did you then?
Yes, we did.
How come
No,
you don't
you did
anymore?
not.
Excuse me?
How come you don't anymore?
Because she called the landlord and explained everything that was going on. The landlord told me if Miss Showers didn't drop the warrant, that we both had to leave.
Didn't drop what warrant? The no contact
Well, yes,
warrant
I'm
on
sorry.
your mother?
No contact, yes.
How long has it been since you haven't gotten along with your mother?
Probably May.
What happened in May?
I backed into Miss Showers' car. She took my truck to work.
Yes?
And that started the May incident of her coming into her place of work.
Why? What is your mother's business that she took your truck?
It's not, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Well, Your Honor, there's been a history of 2 years of problems between Stacy and my son, where Stephen has come and talked to me about Stacy running around on him, leaving the apartment for 2 days and disappearing. I was brought into their business.
By your son? No, your son was
by my
confiding.
son. Yes.
Your son was confiding in you.
Right. Yes.
That he was troubled.
Yes. Yes.
And?
Stephen at one point expressed to me that they were in an apartment together. He was wanting to put Stacy out, but couldn't afford the apartment on his own. I live in a very inexpensive place to live, asked me to try to get him a place in my building. Apartment came available. I went to Stephen and asked if he wanted that apartment because he knew the relationship was shaky.
Fine. You asked him if he wanted the apartment. And he was living with her at the time.
Right.
Go ahead.
After they moved in,
So the two of them moved, just a second.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the two of them moved in together.
Yes, ma'am. In October, where it brought to where I was seeing with my own 2 eyes of Stacy's actions. The truck incident was basically the icing on the cake. Stephen did put Stacy out right after Christmas of last year.
Talk to me about the truck incident. He says that she had permission to take his truck. He didn't care that she took the truck.
That is correct.
So what was it your business?
Well, because Stephen was having to take off time from work for her to go, and Stephen had owed me money. She works a mile from where they were staying. My viewpoint was, you can afford to be taking off time from work. You owe me this money.
So why didn't you have a discussion with him instead of her?
I did.
And you got no satisfaction?
He said that he was going to take care of it. Stephen has
So
a
then
habit
what prompted you to go to her place of business?
to basically let her know that she might be fooling him, but she wasn't fooling me.
Miss Harris, you better get your priorities in order, and you better get your position in your son's life straight. What he does with his fiancée is none of your business. And if he chooses to confide in you as a parent, he's not asking you to do anything. He's just asking you to be a sounding board and to give him advice. He's not asking you to be a mediator. He's not asking you to get in between he and his fiancée. It's a very bad place to be, Miss Harris. Listen, she's bothering you. She's annoying you. That's not something that you come to court and you're compensated for. Do you understand?
Right.
But you have absolutely no case against her. None. Your case is dismissed.
Why is that excuse? You may step out.
She has a very bad reputation in town.
She's just so hateful. She'll say anything.
I've seen her with other men. She's had men down in my son's apartment.
I mean, as far as being with anybody, I can count the people I've been with on one hand more than probably, I could say for her.
I guess nobody's ever going to be good enough.
Not to be blunt, but everybody in town has had her, so no, I don't think she is.
Actually, she's told Steve that if we ever got married, she wouldn't be there, and then if we ever had kids, she wouldn't nothing to do with them.
His relationship with her will be his. If he wants a relationship with me, then we'll have to have a separate relationship.
I guess she's upset that she lost her case. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's anger talking. I'm not sure.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Baker versus Terry, step forward.
Rehab counselor Vicki Baker is suing her former neighbors, Byron and Mary Terry, for damage to her Chevy Lumina. Vicki says the couple drove the vehicle during a hailstorm.
Miss Baker, you agreed to sell the defendants a used car that you had, according to what I read. They had the car for some time. They made some payments on the car. And then, according to you, they stopped making payments on the car, so you repossessed it.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you repossessed it, Mr. and Mrs. Terry sued you for all the money that they had paid into the car, which was, I believe, about $1,400. Is that right? And how much had you paid?
$1,850.
And how long did you have the car?
We had the car for roughly about 3.5, 4 months.
Okay. Now you want them to pay for the damage that was done to the car while it was in their possession as a result of being driven in a hailstorm.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. and Mrs. Terry said, you live in Oklahoma, for heaven's sakes. That's what happens in Oklahoma. There are hailstorms. They're not responsible for the hailstorms. That's your defense.
Partly. There's more to it.
That's the defense that I read here. That it's a hailstorm and you're not responsible for an act of God. Now, Miss Baker, when did you agree to sell them the car? Give me the month and year.
December 4th of 2003.
And you took it back sometime in March?
Actually, no, it was April 2nd.
And when you got the car back, describe the damage to me.
I have photos of the damage, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please?
The automobile was damaged all over with hail damage. I have photos of the car, the storm and the damage, and also an estimate for over $3,000.
Do you know when this hailstorm was?
Yes, March 17th.
Car, hail.
Were there other cars damaged, Miss Baker, in Oklahoma where you live by this hail?
Yes, ma'am.
How many hundreds of cars were damaged?
Probably many.
So why do you think the Terrys are responsible?
Because in the agreement they were responsible for any damages as well as to insure the car, which they did through Geico. And then I had asked them to take care of the damages with their insurance, and they did not.
Now, after March 17th, did they make any payment to you? When was the last payment?
March 12th, Byron paid me $200, which totaled $1,400.
No, I just asked you when the last payment that they gave you was.
March 12th.
Why did you stop making payments after March 12th?
We didn't, and we have proof. What happened was when we bought the car, we put like a large amount of money down, and then she gave us a copy of the title, and it said there was a lien on it, and she kept convincing us to double up on payments, and harassing me at work.
Just a second, Your Honor. Just a second. I asked a simple question. It doesn't require a story.
Okay.
It requires an answer. Why didn't you make any payments after March the 12th?
The last payment was...
As a matter of fact, I was sitting in jail, ma'am. I won't lie to you. I wasn't capable of writing her a check. My wife was handing her cash. She gave my wife no receipts, which I told my wife, don't give her no cash if she ain't going to give you no receipt, because it ain't going to do you no good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vicki Baker says former neighbors Byron and Mary Terry owe for damage to a car they were subleasing. Vicki says the car was dented during a hailstorm.
The question is, did you make any payments or did you not make any payments after March the 12th?
No, I'm sorry.
So the answer is no.
Right.
Now, when, Miss Baker, the Terrys sued you for the return of their money, you already had possession of the car, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you, in fact, counterclaim for damage to the car?
Not during that suit, no.
Why not?
I tried to, and they said it was too late to countersue, that I had to make a new suit.
When did they sue you? In what month?
May 28th.
So you had already had the car back for almost 3 months.
April 2nd. No, I would have had the car back for about 6 weeks.
And when was the court case heard?
The court case was actually heard on May 28th. So the suit may have came just a little bit before that.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. When did you file suit for the return of your money?
When did I file suit?
No.
In April.
And when was she served?
The weekend after I filed suit, after I got out of jail.
Sometime in April.
Yes, ma'am.
So you had at least 4 or 5 weeks. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
After you got notice that you were being sued. And you had at least 6 or 7 weeks to sue them for the damage to your car. So my question to you, Miss Baker, is why didn't you do it?
I was hoping that they would take the car. All along, I have offered them back the car for the $1,000 that they owed on the car. And so I have no use for this car, so I was hoping that they would do the original agreement, which was to pay the $2,400.
What did you do in order to convey that to them?
I spoke to them twice in person.
Just a second.
Okay.
Spoke to them twice after you repossessed the car.
Yes.
On April 2nd.
And also the police. Pardon me.
Did either Mr. or Mrs. Terry indicate to you that they were prepared to continue paying the additional $1,000 that you claimed they owed?
Mary's statement was, no, I will not give you another dime.
Okay.
Byron said, no, I'm leaving state. I have no need for the car. I'm fixing my truck. So they changed their mind.
So the answer is
no.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
So then my question to you is, why didn't you sue them?
I did.
No.
Ma'am,
you didn't sue them. Listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't sue them until after they sued you for the return of some of their money. That's when you sued them. You saw the car was damaged the day you took it back on April 2nd. So if you believed that you had a legitimate case, you would have been in court immediately, as you were now, to file a case against them because they damaged your property that you had repossessed. You chose not to do that.
Ma'am, I didn't know we had hard feelings. I thought this would be friendly throughout the entire thing.
What, Miss Baker? I don't know where you're at, madam. After you took back the car, they sued you. At what point did you think it was friendly? Where's the car now?
In my possession.
Good. What are you doing with it?
I have offered it back to the Terrys. I'm letting it sit until we decide what to do. Your Honor, may I speak, please, on this situation? I befriended these kids. They moved in next door to me.
I don't care about that. That's not what this is about.
Okay.
That's a story once upon a time. Right now what I have is you sold them a car. They were friends, next door neighbors, you liked, whatever. Sold them a car. You took the car back for non-payment.
No, ma'am. I took the car back because she sent me a letter refusing payment.
She said she wasn't going to pay you anymore.
Right, yes.
Fine.
Yes.
So I paid you enough, and I'm
I
not
did
paying
not-
anymore. Shh.
Okay.
Not paying anymore. This has been resolved in another court.
Right.
I'm not dealing with that. You took the car back. You did nothing when you took the car back until after they sued you for some of the money that they had invested in the car.
Ma'am.
That's what happened.
I did it as quickly as I could because I am a very, very busy self-employed person. To drive 2 hours to go down and sue someone when I knew I had until May 28th, I didn't see any hurry in doing that.
Well, I don't see any hurry in responding to it, madam. It's an act
they
of God.
damaged my car.
No, they did not damage your car.
My car did not get hail damaged, and many cars did not because most of us know to pull over during a hailstorm and park our cars somewhere else. It's only those who drive. Mary was at work.
To be in a hailstorm.
Mary was at work, and she chose to drive home in that hailstorm. She bragged to me how she drove 70 miles an hour in the hailstorm. She could have chose to stay at work and let the hailstorm pass, and the car wouldn't have been damaged as it was.
Did you drive intentionally in this hailstorm at 70 miles an hour?
No.
Is she crazy?
Well,
is she crazy?
I was petrified I was going to break through my windshield. I never drove in one
Nobody
before.
drives. Nobody drives
come you didn't
70
stay
miles an
home?
hour in a hailstorm, Miss Baker.
How come she didn't stay at the office and wait for the hailstorm to pass if she was terrified?
Miss Baker,
I was on my way
how
home
come
from
she
daycare
doesn't
picking my
live
kid.
in Florida, where there are no hailstorms that I know about? I don't know why. The heavens opened up. Golf ball size hail came down, damaged your car as well as hundreds of others. They're not responsible for that. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
These kids refused to make payments when Byron went to jail, and they sued me for payments, and I've offered them the car back.
She was spending the money on herself and her daughter that should have been for the car payment, and now she tries to sue us. She needs therapy.
I wasn't going to cover her cheating on her husband and doing different things, and she got angry with that, and I asked her to leave me, and it was after that the lawsuit came.
She wanted me to lie on my tax return, so we got in a fight and I left.
They took their $4,000 tax return and bought a new car. She changed her mind.
This woman is a pathological liar, and that is why she lost 2 court cases, because her stories are good, but they're not true.
All parties in the matter of Amparan versus Lyle. Step forward, please.
Dental assistant Olivia Amperin is suing her former live-in boyfriend, business owner Alan Lyle, for the return of a barbecue pit and a chair and ottoman set. Olivia also claims Alan assaulted her 9-year-old son.
Miss Amperin, how long did you and the defendant live together?
15 months.
And he moved into your house?
Yes.
And you have children?
Yes, I do have 2.
How old are they?
12 and 9.
Was Mr. Lyle a reasonable, companion with regard to the children?
No.
Okay. According to your complaint, there was an incident in September
That's correct.
involving one of your children. Was that the 12-year-old or the 9-year-old?
The 9-year-old.
Where you claim that Mr. Lyle hit him.
That's correct.
And you called the police and had him removed from the house. What day was that?
It was the 7th.
And then it is your claim that he came back into the house and he took some of your property. He took a barbecue pit, a chair, and a lamp. And you said that you purchased all these things, you
Yes.
paid for these things. Mr. Lyle says he only took what was his. And you also want some sort of damage because you say that he hit your 9-year-old son, slapped him.
That's correct.
So tell me what happened on September 7th.
It was in the evening. We had come home, myself and my 2 children. We drove up. The door to the front of the house was open. Everything was open. So we proceeded into the house, myself and my children, and I told them because of the situation that we were in, living with Alan Lyle, that just to go into your rooms, don't answer to him, just do what I ask you to do to avoid any confrontation. So they did so. As I proceeded into my bedroom, he was there with a duffel bag. I simply asked him a question as to where are you packing, where are you going? And he started telling me I have no right to ask him where he's going, whether he's coming, for me to get the effing with my children, go over there, go sleep with your children, go sleep with your gay son. He's a mama's boy. He'll never amount to anything, and he just kept on with those things. So I went ahead and went out from the room to my son's bedroom, and I comforted him because he did hear these things. Alan then went outside to the garage, and I didn't tell you this before, but when I came home that night, he was under the influence of alcohol and marijuana, and I went outside. We began to argue. He turned around and said for me to get the hell back in the house, go to sleep, and he proceeded again to tell me that if you don't get back into the house, I'm going to go and tell your son how you brought him into the world with your legs spread open.
Nasty things.
Yes, nasty things. And he went into my son's bedroom and turned around and got him up against the bedroom corner and smacked him across the face 3 times. I told him for him to stop or I was going to call the cops.
Why did he do that?
He was angry with just the whole situation of how we were living.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Torrin says ex-boyfriend Alan Lyle owes for the return of a barbecue pit and a chair and ottoman set.
So you called the police?
Right, and I do want to say that when he was outside, I was very, very angry, and I know as a mother I shouldn't have told my son to curse at him, but my son did curse at him, and he didn't want to, and so I believe either that made him angry, also with everything else, so he came into the house.
There had to be a reason, otherwise there would not be logic to it if he just walked inside and slapped him in the face. So he slapped him in the face because he cursed at you.
Right.
Is that what happened? Is that what happened?
Yes.
No. Now, tell me about the property. Let's start with the chair and the ottoman.
Right, he was given 1 day to come back.
Who purchased the chair and the ottoman?
I did, and I have receipts.
May I see it, please? I'll hear you.
We both went together to Wix and purchased it. Her grandmother co-signed for her to get a Wix card. She picked out the couches. We went throughout the whole store. I sat in every chair. I'm a big guy. I took a picture of the chair. I
just want to know who paid for it.
It was purchased on her credit card, but after the fact that we went home, we moved into our place on May 1st. So we purchased our furniture in May.
Right.
Throughout the months, I had given her $100, $200 here and there, just for the chair. Everything else was on her account, the couches and stuff, because it was agreed that if I was to ever leave, that I would be taking the chair and the lamp.
How did you deal with your finances when you lived together?
She was working, I was working.
How did you take care of the rent?
She paid half, I paid half. I gave her half of the money, and then she would write the check for it in full because she had the checking account.
How much did you give her?
I gave her $750 in rent, and then the agreement was to pay half of the utilities, but I ended up paying all of them.
Did he give you $750 for rent?
Yes, he did.
Who paid for the food?
Both of us.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor. He wasn't working. When we moved into this house together, he was not working. I put down the down payment, and I put the first and last month.
When you moved into this apartment, sir, where were you working?
When we first moved in, I was doing freelance jobs, getting hired here and there to do subcontracting work.
How many months was it before you got a full-time job?
3.5 months, middle of September.
I say November.
So, May, June, July, August, so for 5 months you weren't working. Is that what you're telling me?
4.5 months, yes.
Did you ever make up your half of the rent for those 4.5 months?
Not fully.
No. Is not an answer.
No, not fully the $750, no.
Why not?
Well, because on top of that, I was taking care of her 2 kids, making sure they were maintained in school, doing their schoolwork. So child care, basically.
Mr. Lyle, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. You give her back the ottoman and the chair. She bought it. She paid for it in May of 2003. You sitting in it doesn't make it yours, sir. Now, let's get to the barbecue. Who purchased the barbecue?
I did.
When?
In June. I was going to have a 4th of July barbecue. We didn't have a barbecue pit. I went out to Home Depot.
Let me see it.
Down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. June 27th. Yes, sir, I'm hearing about the barbecue pit. Go.
She said that she purchased, that she went there by herself and bought it. That's incorrect.
No, she didn't say she went there by herself, sir.
Yes, she did.
It doesn't make any difference whether she went there with the whole Coxie army, sir, or whether she went there with Ringling Brothers.
That was a Father's Day gift to me.
You're not a father.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're an idiot. Listen, I can't deal. The truth of the matter is, I really can't deal with
Just
it. I'm
because
going to tell you something.
I'm
I'm going to tell you something else.
I am a father.
I want to tell you something else, sir. I don't even trust you to return these items to her in good condition, because I think that you are a less than honorable human being. That's my sense of you, and I've only met you for a relatively short time.
Exactly.
But those people who know me know that I'm a pretty good judge of character. You took these things that didn't belong to you. You sat in the chair, doesn't make it your chair. Because you grilled a hamburger, doesn't make it your barbecue. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. That's all. Out!
Thank you very much.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
She has 2 kids with separate different fathers, and they couldn't stand her either.
I mean, that's how he is, obnoxious.
She's violent. She has a temper. She likes to put her hands on men.
He's the one who has the police report on him stating that he hit my son, so he's the violent one.
I'm done and over. It's over and done with.
22-year-old warehouse worker Kevin Naughton is suing his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old assembly line printer Glory Jackson, for stabbing him in the arm. Glory says Kevin was attacking her.
Order. All rise. This is number 312 on the calendar in the matter of Naughton versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Norton, there was a time when you and Miss Jackson had a relationship. Is that right?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you had an argument. And during the course of that argument, Miss Jackson stabbed you with a knife.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no question that you were cut, you received stitches. You want her to pay for that assault.
Yes.
Miss Jackson says she was defending herself because you were in the process of assaulting her and you actually ran into the knife, which she had picked up for protection because you were hitting her. When did this assault take place, sir?
On the 19th of July.
Now, Miss Jackson has a counterclaim. Miss Jackson says that because of you assaulting her and her defending herself, she was arrested and she had to pay attorneys and she had other costs. So she is counterclaiming for not only the costs of her defending herself, but also for the assault that she alleges you committed against her. Correct?
Yes.
Now, 19th of July, 2004?
Yes.
You were at her house. What were you doing at her house, Mr. Norton?
Well, she had called me on my cell phone, and she had just had a baby, and she had told me that the baby was mine. But the whole time when she was pregnant, she said she was pregnant by some Marine dude in California.
A submarine dude?
Yeah, some Marine guy. She brags about him all the time, like he's the best person in the world. So anyway, I come over to see the baby. I'm like, I thought you said it was his. And she just had it, because before she had a baby, like a couple years ago, she had a baby, she said it was mine. And I took a blood test, it wasn't even mine. So she was doing it again, so I'm like, it's not mine. I went to go look at the baby, and I said it didn't look like me. So she gets mad. She tells me, out of her house, excuse my language. So as I'm leaving, I'm going out the door. I turn around, she's coming at me with a knife. I put it on my arm, and she stabs me in the arm. She stabbed me so hard, the knife broke. And I ran outside, and the ambulance that came and picked me up out the street. I was laying in the middle of the street.
All right, Ms. Jackson, you want to tell me your version of the events?
On the morning of July 19th, Mr. Nodden was over at my house.
How did he get there?
He called me and told me that he couldn't get into his mother's house and asked me if he could spend a night. I don't even know Mr. Nodden's telephone number at that time. Okay, so I said, sure. He came over that night. He spent the night. That morning, I was on the phone with my sister, and he told, and then, okay, so then I took the baby in there to lay him down. Then he said, quit making all the noise. I'm tired. I'm tired. I said, I know why you tired. You don't have no job no more. And then he jumps up, and he's like, don't be telling them bees my business. Came in my face. I'm in the bathroom. I'm about to get in the bathtub. Then he pushed me, and I proceeded towards him to, move him. But he's punching me as I'm walking towards him. So I'm running out.
Where is it? Just a second. Where is he punching you?
He's punching me all here. He didn't ever hit me in my face. He just punched me in my body, my upper top of my body.
Now, were you dressed or undressed as you were going to take a bath?
No, I still had on my pajamas, a nightgown.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so then I took off running I just ran to the first place. I ran to the kitchen. There was a knife on the counter. He still hit me in the back as I'm running. I grabbed the knife, and I'm doing it like this, saying, Kevin could just get out my house and tell him to get out my house. And he wouldn't leave, and he came towards me, and that's when he got cut. I never swung the knife to cut him. I just held the knife out so he could leave. I could not run out the house because my children were in the house, in their room, sleep. And that's how it happened. Then he took off running out the door. And I did call the police, but his phone call got through before mine, or I don't know what happened. But
just a second. He ran out the door. He was cut.
I didn't know he was cut. Okay.
He ran out the door. He was cut.
Mm-hmm.
Who called the ambulance?
The police must have called the ambulance.
Okay. Now, when did you call the police?
I called the police as soon as I shut the door and locked the door. I called them.
Okay. Did you call the police on your house phone?
No, I called off my cell phone.
Where was your cell phone?
It was on the couch.
You're her sister.
Yes, yes.
You sure you want to do this?
Yes.
I'd think twice about it. But if you're sure you want to do this, I'm ready for you.
Okay.
Step up here. Button your shirt.
It's oh.
It isn't buttoned. Did you go to a preliminary hearing when your sister was arrested?
No.
Did you ever tell a detective that you were on the phone with your sister during this altercation?
Yes.
That was a lie.
No,
no, that was a lie.
How was it a lie?
That was a lie. And I'm going to tell you how I know that was a lie.
How?
Because you just told me 2 seconds ago that you were going into the bathroom in your pajamas. You were still in your pajamas drawing a bath. I'm speaking, and he came into the bathroom, and you started to tussle with him, and you pushed him away from you.
I didn't push him away from me.
Yes, he started.
It's in the letter statement that he wrote. He wrote me a letter.
Listen to me very carefully, madam.
Mm-hmm.
You said you pushed him away from you.
No, I ran. After he pushed me, I was running towards him.
And then you ran outside, and you got a knife. And you held up the knife. And then he got cut. And then you went back to the couch to pick up a phone, which is where you told me the cell phone was, where you called the police. However, in your answer that I read very carefully, you say, the DA eventually dismissed the charges because my sister had stayed on the other end of the phone while this incident occurred.
Mm-hmm.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
It's in this letter. He even admitted to her that he knows I was on the phone. I was on the phone the whole time. He wrote me a letter stating
You mean to tell me that the phone was in the bathroom?
I was on the phone.
In the bathroom getting ready to take a bath?
On the bathroom. I ran my bath. But I was
just a second. How did the phone then get on the couch?
Because I threw it down as I was running.
Let me see the letter.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Kevin Naughton claims ex-girlfriend Glory Jackson stabbed him in the arm. Kevin says Glory freaked out when he denied being the father of her child.
doesn't say we're on the phone with your sister.
He said, I did not know you were on the phone with your sister.
And telling her your business. This doesn't say you were on the phone with your sister during the course of the incident.
That's what he's talking about in the letter.
Listen to me. That's not what it says. What else do you want to say?
I guess that's it.
No, not you. You.
I was on the telephone with her when I heard his voice, and I was asking her who that was. And she told me his name, and I said, who? She said, it's the guy that his relative lives next door to my mom. Yes. And I said, oh, okay, because I had met him before.
Yes.
And then, but he was cursing and yelling and everything in the back, and I was asking her why. Then the phone dropped, and it went dead. So I was on the telephone with her.
You didn't hear anything of this incident, is that right?
No, I heard him cursing at her, calling her the B word, slut, and all those type of things. Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
All right, I was going to say that she stabbed me so hard the knife broke. So it wasn't like I just ran into it. She came like this.
Did you go to the doctor after this assault? Not you. Okay. I know you did. Did you go to the doctor after this assault?
No, I was arrested.
Well, when you're arrested, they take photographs of you if you have bruises on your body.
Bruises don't usually show up till a few hours later. I didn't have any bruises.
You mean he was punching you and hitting you and you didn't have any marks?
No.
Mm-hmm. You have a police report, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
You want to see my medical bills, too?
Yeah. You have any police report you want me to read?
I have a police report from a previous incident that we had.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
You have a previous incident with him, madam, and you don't invite him over to your house to stay over.
I didn't invite him. He called me and asked me if he could stay there till the morning.
Huh. Did you tell him that you thought this baby was his?
No, I did not. His auntie told him that she thought that my baby was his. We were not even messing around at that time. He wanted it to be his very badly, as stated in the letter, so we can be a family, work it out. Yeah, that's what you said. You know you did.
What do you want to say, sir?
I mean, I ain't never told her that. She named her last baby. She named after me, and it wasn't even mine. And this one, she's supposed to be with some Marine dude.
I told you it wasn't yours, though. So what are you talking about? I
gotta keep the players straight, folks. Gotta keep the players straight. All right, you had medical bills of $817. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Your counterclaim, madam, for false arrest is dismissed. I believe that your sister's full of baloney. I don't think that your sister heard anything that involved an assault, heard anything involving punching, hitting, or whatever. She may have heard him curse at you. She may have. I mean, I read what happened on that day. According to him, he told a totally consistent story of what happened that he told today. And he told that at the point where he was bleeding from his arm. He hardly had enough opportunity to make up a good story. You, on the other hand, did. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
All right, excuse me, step out.
She was cool at first until I said it wasn't mine, and she flipped the script.
I told him that the baby wasn't his. It was a question, but I told him that it wasn't.
I'm through with him.
He always want to be over there and just be with me. I don't know. Just had a baby, so, you know, we wasn't finna have no sex.
I can show you my cell phone. She called me last night and at the airport.
When he got his little money now, maybe he can go get him something with his broke self.
She probably called me right after this.
An 18-year-old laborer, Sherry Powell, is suing her former friend, 17-year-old Lise Chouinard, and her mother, Paulette, for lost wages and pain and suffering due to an assault. Lise claims Sherry slept with her friend's boyfriend.
Yes, case number 315 on the calendar in the matter of Powell versus Chouinard. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
What's your name?
Rianne Curry.
Rianne?
Yes.
You already pled guilty in this assault, is that right?
Yes.
Did you think you were coming to a dance today or something?
No.
Miss Powell, according to your complaint, this young lady assaulted you. And according to your complaint, she pled guilty to the assault, which she clearly says she did. But you said you claim that she was assisted in that assault by this young lady.
That's correct.
Who held you down, held your hair, and you, while she assaulted you.
That's right.
What's your first name?
Lise.
What?
Lise.
Why did your friend assault her?
It was over an ex-boyfriend.
What's the ex-boyfriend's name?
Greg.
How long ago was Rianne with Greg?
About a year ago.
Was Miss Powell ever with Greg?
I don't think she was. I think she just had slept with him.
Is that what she was annoyed at?
Yeah.
So Rianne was angry because she thought, right or wrong, that Miss Powell had been involved with her ex-boyfriend.
Well, her ex-boyfriend had told her that he had slept with her.
During the time that they were still together?
Yes.
Could you do me, you're her mother?
I sure am.
Good. Why don't you sit down? Because you're just here because you have the deep pockets. Step up here, Rianne. Now, when Greg told you about this assignation, did you beat him up?
No.
Did you punch him in the face?
No.
Did you kick him in the groin?
No.
Why not? Did you think that Miss Powell held him down?
No.
So why did you get angry with her?
Because we were acquaintances at the time, and...
So you think that because you were an acquaintance of Miss Powell, she owed you more loyalty than the boyfriend that you had with whom you were sleeping?
No, but...
I'm just trying to get the rationale. You got a boyfriend with whom you are intimate. And how long had Greg been your boyfriend?
A few months.
And you are crazy about him, right?
Not totally.
Well, I assume that if you were intimate with him, that you had some feelings for him. Is that right?
Yes.
And your boyfriend with whom you have been intimate says to you, when you weren't around, I slept with Miss Powell. Yeah, you start to cry, right? You got upset?
A little bit.
Did you yell at him?
Yes.
What did you say?
Many things. It was a year ago.
When did you assault Miss Powell?
October of last year.
And when did your boyfriend tell you that he had been intimate with Miss Powell?
September of last year.
Now, between September and October, had you seen Miss Powell?
Not really, no.
So the first time you saw her is when the assault took place, is that right?
Yes.
And where was that?
At Pool Hall.
And Lise was with you?
She wasn't there in the beginning, but she came around, yeah.
And she's a friend of yours?
Yes.
Had you told her about Greg's confession?
Yes.
See how it all fits in? You want to know why? Because it's common sense. That's why it all fits in. Tell me what happened when you saw her.
I had seen her and...
Now look at me. Don't look at the floor. Don't look at the water. Look at me.
I had seen her in the pool hall with him, and I got...
With Greg?
Yes.
Oh, she was with Greg in October. Is that right, Miss Powell?
We were friends, and at the time, she was dating his brother, who's Matt.
Okay. But you were with Greg, and you were no longer with Greg.
No.
So you saw her, and she was with Greg. And what did you say to her?
At first, I didn't say anything to her, and then when she had come outside, I had confronted her.
What did you say to her?
I asked her what the problem was, and that's when...
Well, I didn't hear about any problem. What do you mean, what the
She
problem
disrespected me. That's the
How did she
problem.
disrespect you?
By sleeping with my boyfriend.
Disrespected you?
Yes.
Your boyfriend disrespected you?
Yeah, that too.
Okay. And what did she say to you?
She said, what are you talking about? And I basically said, you know, well, what I'm talking about. And that's when a fight broke out.
No, that's just words that I hear so far.
Mm-hmm.
After you said, I don't know what you're talking about, what happened, Miss Powell?
On that note, I did not say anything before it happened. There were no words said besides some name-calling from her to me before she hit me.
Where did she hit you?
In the face.
With what?
With her fists.
And where was Lise at the time?
Lise was standing behind her, maybe about 5 feet behind her.
No. Anybody else with them?
Greg was walking with me outside, and Matt was outside, who at the time
Matt was
Rianne's boyfriend.
And then what happened?
She started hitting me, and she's saying, come on, Sherry, hit me, hit me. And at the time, it happened so fast that I barely knew who it was. I had no idea what she was doing or why she was doing it. And she went savage.
Okay, she's already acknowledged to the police and to the courts that she assaulted you. What I want to know is what Lisa's participation was, if any.
There were some words said.
By whom?
I said, what the Rianne? Like, I was totally confused. She said, what the Sherry? And then she was hitting me and scratching me and pulling me by my hair. I had turned her around because before I was up against a concrete wall, and she was pulling my hair and hitting me, hitting my head off the wall. So I turned her around to get away from the wall. And as I turned her around, I took control of her. And then Lise came in because she knew that I had some control. And she started pulling my hair.
From behind?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then Greg said, she's Matt's brother, Rianne's ex-boyfriend, said, you have nothing to do with this, Lise, get away. And from what I understood, Greg had taken her away, but I think that she had backed away.
You mean Lise?
Yes.
Okay. How long did she hold your hair?
Maybe about 10 seconds, not even.
While she was holding your hair, what was Rianne doing?
She was hitting me and scratching me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. 18-year-old Sherry Powell says her former friend, 17-year-old Lee Schwannard, owes for an assault. Lee says she was trying to break up a fight between Sherry and her friend.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
When they were fighting, I was in the car with my two friends. Rianne had been taking a little while, so I went to see where she was in the pool hall, but they had been outside. And I came in, and Sherry had Rianne by the throat against a brick wall, and my first intention was to pull her off of her. Like, this girl's way bigger than my girlfriend, so I was like, Kate, no, this is retarded. So I pulled her off there, and then that's when Greg told me, back off these, and I was like, Kate, yeah. And I stood there, and they finished their fight, and then we left.
Why did you put your hands on her?
To pull her off my girlfriend.
You have no right to do that.
Well, if you, like...
You have no right to do that.
Yeah, but she was sitting there hurting.
I don't, listen to me. I don't believe that you weren't there and didn't see how it started. Don't believe your cookie. Don't believe your cookie. You knew exactly what was going on because she's your friend, and you knew she was angry at her.
But I wasn't even there when it started.
Don't believe you, my dear. Don't believe you. It's just too coincidental that at a time when she seemed to be getting the upper hand, you stepped in. Just too coincidental to me.
I stepped in for 2 seconds to get her off Rianne. That's what I did.
When you got her off Rianne, did Rianne continue to assault her?
Rianne wasn't even hitting her when I pulled her off. Sherry had Rianne by the throat and had her fist out like that.
Sounds right to me. Sounds perfect to me. She started it. She hit her first. She confronted her first. She assaulted her first.
Yeah. So that's what happened. That's what happened. I'm not saying that's not what happened, but I pulled her off my friend. I walk in and she's got my friend by the throat. My immediate reaction is to do that. Like, what else would I do? Just sit there and be like, oh, you can go and hit my girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Because then you wouldn't be standing where you are, if I believed you, which I don't, because I find that somebody who can't even figure out that their shirt is supposed to meet their pants when they come to court is not going to tell me the truth.
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I stand up here and lie?
Why?
Yeah, exactly. I have no reason to sit here and lie.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, I don't. I have no reason. No. I don't even talk to her no more. This has been a year ago.
Let me explain to you why you do. Because she's suing your mother. Because your mother is responsible for you. She's suing your mother for $5,000 because you permitted, at least for a period of time, your friend, who also doesn't know how to dress when she comes to court, to assault her by holding her hair and allowing her to be hit. You did that.
But that didn't even happen.
Do you have a police report, please?
No, they would not release it to me.
Do you have a hospital record?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
I have a picture, too.
Okay.
I have a police statement. Would you also like to see that? Mm-hmm. And I have an apology letter from Rianne.
Do you have a separate lawsuit against Rianne?
I haven't sued her. I do intend on suing her in higher courts. So far, she had just pleaded guilty in Canada.
When?
Assault. On October 8th this year.
Okay. Step up, please. What's your name?
Matt Duke.
You were there that evening in October, sir?
Yeah.
Tell me what you observed with regard to this young lady holding the plaintiff.
She was in the car when Rianne was starting all this stuff, and then when she came out, she didn't know what was going on. I just seen her run past and try to go and help out her friend like anybody else would. And my brother pulled her off before she could get involved, so it wouldn't be a 2-on-1 or anything like that. And in the meanwhile, I told Rianne, that's enough. No more fighting. That's when the fight stopped.
Sit down, genius. What did you plead guilty to, Rianne?
Assault into Sherry.
Were you sentenced yet?
What I have here is my 12-month conditional discharge.
Can I see it,
is what they gave me.
Can I see it, please? She wrote you a letter of apology because she was directed by the court to do it.
She wasn't directed.
No, I offered.
Who just said that to me? Which one of you two geniuses said I wasn't directed, she offered it? Who said that?
I did.
Okay. This assault happened in October of 2003, is that right?
Yes.
If your friend was truly sorry for what she had done, the letter of apology would have come not a year later, but the next week. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. The letter of apology, which was directed by the court. It's here in the order. This is the dumbest bird. You just have to listen to this. That a court accepted as an apology letter. I didn't have to write this letter of apology. I chose to. What happened between you and me was a huge waste of my time. But I'd like you to know that you should be apologizing too because of what you did to me. I have to let it go because I've realized a lot about both of you. I know how hurt and angry you'd be if another female stabbed you in the back like that. The both of you are in my past, and I've moved on to better things. So, on my behalf, I apologize for doing what I did to you.
Touching.
Touching, and the future of that country. Future of that country.
Or theirs.
Or theirs. Oh, Canada? Oh.
Can I make a note on that
Listen!
letter?
You have no right to put your hands on another person. She has no right to put her hands on another person. If your boyfriend disrespects you by fooling around, you do what's necessary to him. Mm-hmm. You can move out of the apartment, kick him out of the apartment. You can break off all contact. You can yell and scream. But as long as there is no allegation that someone held him down and forced him to submission, no, it's his fault.
She had a part. It takes two to have sex. Like,
she's not your boyfriend.
No, she's not.
She's not your boyfriend. She wasn't even your friend. According to you, you knew her. She owes you no allegiance. You weren't married. You weren't engaged. You had a boyfriend for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. What do? I mean, do you work? Do you go to school? Do you do anything?
Not right now, no.
You don't do anything?
No.
You better find something to occupy your time. Judgment for the... What?
She's also pregnant with his kid.
Oh. How fortunate for the people of Canada. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sherry's a fat cow who shouldn't even be getting anything. She took her frustrations out on me. She was attacking my friend, and she's 10 times the size of my friend. I had taken control because I knew that this girl was crazy.
I got over-tempered.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
She's mentally freaking touched in the head.
And now the next, Angela Marie is suing her daughter, set painter Lisa Kales, for a series of unpaid loans. Lisa says her mother abandoned her when she was a child.
All rise. Yes, it's case number 326 on the calendar in the matter of Marie versus Kales. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Marie, the defendant is your daughter. And it is your claim that she was disabled, and while she was waiting for her disability to come through, her Social Security disability?
Yes.
You loaned her money, and when she got her retroactive money, she did not reimburse you for the monies you had loaned to her. Your daughter says that you did in fact help her while she was waiting for her disability to come through. You did so because you were her mother, because you had not been much of a mother previously to her, and there was never any arrangement between the two of you for payback of the money that you advanced her while she was sick. Okay. How many children do you have, Miss Marie?
Your Honor, I have 3.
How old are they?
In their 30s.
How old is the defendant?
34.
Did they always live with you when they were young?
I raised them until while I was working, they were 3 children from hell. I mean, what they were...
Could you just answer my question? Were they living with you, or were they not living with you during all their minority?
I was taking full responsibility for them.
You want to answer my question?
Till I was 10 years old.
And where did you go when you were 10?
She took my brothers and I to my aunt's house, and we stayed there for 2 or 3 years, and I never went back after that.
group homes, foster homes, friends.
So after the time you were 10 years old, you did not live with your mother?
No.
Are you the older of the children? Or
I'm the youngest.
And how old are your brothers and sisters?
36 and 38.
What's the nature of your disability?
Bilateral carpal tunnel.
Did you have surgery?
Yes.
Didn't work?
No.
All right, Miss Marie, you want to tell me about the money that you allegedly loaned to your daughter?
Okay, I have been supporting her because she's not been able to keep a job. I kept giving her money, and she promised to pay me back. A car was involved. Besides loaning her money, I have given her. I've bought her.
I just want to know about the loans, Miss Marie.
It's a running tab, Your Honor. She started the tab in her handwriting and said, from now on, whatever I borrow, you keep the receipts and you put it on the tab.
Let me see.
There's 3 things on this list from 1997.
Can I see it, please?
That's what she started. It could progressively we added more things on. I left half this. This is a fraction of what I've given her over the years, Your Honor.
Who cares?
She's my mother.
Shh. Who cares? I want to know what's a loan. I want to see evidence. Listen to me. I want to see evidence of a loan. If you have children, that's what you do. If they can't take care of themselves and they're going through a difficult time, and you support them, you take them into your home, you buy them clothes, you take them out to dinner, you pay for the phone. That's not a loan. I don't know what you have in your mind with this being a loan. I want to see evidence of a loan. This says Lisa owes mom $150, $600, $120, and a car with a question mark. I mean, I have a Ralph's food bill.
All these receipts are from grocery stores.
Just a second. I have Ralph's food bill.
She told me to put these on the loan. Your Honor, I'm not wealthy. I was giving her money that I was paying for. Sometimes I would get paid maybe $200, $300. I was giving her money. $600 for furniture. I was buying her furniture. I was supporting her, and her promise to me is that when she got a settlement, we changed the agreements from whenever she could afford it. See, I was helping her get settled in California. I paid her bills. She lived with me. The fact that I never abandoned her, Your Honor, that is so untrue. Her father came into my life and says that
I'm not interested in what happened 30 years ago. All I'm saying to you, madam,
but it's not 30 years ago. She thinks I abandoned her. That never happened.
Did she live with you when she was 12?
No. The social services came in and took the kids away, Your Honor.
What I'm telling you, madam, is social service
because I was working.
Oh, please. Miss Marie, get your life together. Take this.
Your Honor.
Show me evidence of a loan. I want to see evidence of a loan to your daughter.
Can I say something?
What?
There was no cash. She didn't hand me cash money. It was like a favor for a favor. I didn't want to say this, but my mother's homeless. She lives in a van. She hasn't had a residence. So I'm unable to support her financially, so I help her in other ways. She needs a place to stay. She's always had keys to my apartment, to shower, to get on the internet, to use the telephone, Your Honor, whatever she needs. So it's like a favor for a favor. She would say, I'll take you to the grocery store if you let me come over and take a shower or use the phone.
I know. Listen to me.
That's what it is.
That's not the truth, Your Honor.
Listen to
me.
Miss Marie, I want to see evidence that you as a mother had an agreement, a contract with your daughter so that any monies that you either advanced her or times you took her to the shoe store or to Ralph's grocery store, that there was an intention to pay back. Show me.
The parts that I've highlighted is her admitting that this was, she was going to pay me back.
Well, the first letter says that this is about the car that you mentioned, and she says that happened 7 years ago. We had no agreement. Nothing was signed. You were helping me out because I'm your daughter. And the second letter that you showed me is, you have written here, October 2003. You say you have done and still are doing a lot of wonderful things for me. Please don't think it goes unappreciated. Does that sound familiar to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have every intention of paying you back. My plan is to pay you all at once out of my settlement. You have been so patient about the whole situation, and I thank you for that. I am sure it's been very difficult. If you could just hold out a little longer until my case settles, I promise you will be completely reimbursed.
My case hasn't settled. You have to say something to this woman or she will come slash her tires or take you to court.
I beg your pardon.
Or she'll get you.
No.
She will get you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Angela Marie claims her daughter, Lisa Kales, owes for many unpaid loans. Angela says she is currently homeless.
Go ahead. This has been the most abusive situation I've ever been in my life, and I never allowed her abuse to keep me from giving to her. I was at her beck and call. I was her doctor. I was her therapist. I did everything.
You're my mother.
I'm stunned.
Listen to me.
These are letters telling how much he has abused me over the years and has lied about this. It would be nice to think that we could walk around the park and could solve all our problems, but I see that I am the cause of all our problems, so maybe I need to go walking alone. Yeah. I mean, Lisa is lying. I can read forever. If you give me an hour, it's not enough.
I don't have an hour.
I know,
what I'm asking
but I'm
you,
trying to tell you that this woman is lying, Your Honor. A mother is obligated to their children to the age of 18.
I'm speaking, and you're not getting...
I've been supporting her for
1, 2...
Okay.
And then you're gone. How do you support yourself? I'm asking you a question. How do you support yourself?
Up until about 2 years ago, a transcriptionist.
How do you support yourself now?
Now I have been disabled. I have been borrowing from General Relief. I had to pay that all back. I have been certified. I went to a hearing. I'm certified disabled for several things. And
listen to me very carefully. If you've been giving your daughter money, and if you've been helping her for the last 2 years with money that you have gotten.
Not
from
2 years.
Listen to me. I'm speaking carefully. Carefully. You just told me that up until 2 years ago you were employed as a transcriptionist. Since that time you have not been employed. You were receiving general relief. You were receiving disability. So if you supported your daughter over the last 2 years, you were supporting her, since you have to say when you get general relief that you have no income and you have no money, you were supporting her out of state money. You were supporting her out of money that comes from the general population. I don't understand why a mother, if her daughter is disabled, if her daughter is ill,
disabled.
If her daughter...
She's not disabled.
Well, neither am I. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused.
I can't believe that it came to this. I have been everything to this girl, and I've been giving her all my money, and she's laughing there.
I was kind of hoping that she would win because she's not going to let it go. I want a restraining order now.
She has been coercing me by being nice to me to get more money out of me.
We try, we don't get along. We get along, we don't get along.
There is no relationship. There hasn't been one. I asked her to please go get counseling. I realize now that I'm going to need it also.
Maybe we could, but I don't see us speaking again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of St. Germain versus Old. Step forward, please.
22-year-old dental assistant Kylie St. Germain is suing her ex-boyfriend, water treatment technician Jonathan Old, for an unpaid loan to have his teeth fixed and for the cost of a New Orleans hotel room.
Miss St. Germain, this gentleman was your boyfriend for a while, and according to your complaint, he owes you the balance of some dental work that you put on a credit card. And in addition, you say he pulled some sort of a scam when you were on vacation. You put some hotel rooms on a credit card, going away with a large group of people, and the next day he collected the cash from all the people that were with you, and instead of paying the hotel room in cash, he left it on your credit card and pocketed the cash.
All right.
The defendant says that he paid off the dental work and that he did not collect any money from the people that you were on vacation with, that the people that you were on vacation with stiffed you for the hotel room. That's his defense. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
About 2.5 years.
What kind of dental work did he need?
He needed to have some wisdom teeth pulled. 2 times, had to replace a flipper.
What's a flipper?
Just a missing tooth appliance.
A missing tooth appliance?
Yes, ma'am.
You mean like a bridge?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, like a bridge. It's called a flipper?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much was all this dental work, sir?
I don't know. She took care of my bills. All I know is I paid her.
Mr. Old, you're going to explain to me how this worked. You lived together, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a job, I assume?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were you earning?
Monthly? I say around $2 grand.
And how much money did you give to Miss St. Germain for bills?
About $500 or $600.
Were you saving a lot of money?
No.
Well, if you were giving up $500 to $600 a month, what were you doing with the other $1,500?
Spending it, partying.
Drinking.
How come he needed money for his dental work?
Had bad credit.
He had bad credit. He needed a co-signer. He didn't have the money to come up with it up front, so I co-signed for him.
And he was paying the bill?
Yeah.
Until when?
Until February.
What was the balance left on the bill in February?
It was $656.35.
And how much was the bill initially?
$2,375.
So he made a lot of payments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
made a lot of payments.
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you stop for?
Just, I guess we split up and I didn't get around to it.
Now let's get to the unauthorized use of the credit card. What is your name?
Chris Jarrow.
Were you on the trip with them?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did I know that? Smart lady. Step up. How many people went on the trip?
8.
Where did you stay?
The park on St. Charles.
You were in New Orleans?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody having a gay old time?
Fun time.
Good. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant.
Yeah, I think things have a double meaning when you're younger these days. You have to sort of watch what you say. I think so. Anyway, you put the hotel room on your credit card.
I reserved the room.
You reserved the room. And everybody was supposed to kick in the money at the end and pay in cash. Now, did you in fact pay cash for the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you pay the cash to?
John.
John. How much did you give him?
$100.
And what was the cost of the hotel room?
It was $803.66.
What about your $100?
I wasn't told that I was supposed to pay $100. He told me to reserve the credit card on, to reserve the room on the credit card, and he would take care of it at the end when we left.
Well, he was collecting money from everybody. You collected money from him.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't say that here in your answer. You said that all the people stiffed her. But it's not just him. It's him and your $100 too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I believed you, that would mean that $200 at least should have gone to pay this bill, and only $600 should have been on the credit card. But there was $800 on the credit card. Are you following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
I hate when they're so polite. It's hard to yell at them. Did you see anybody else give him money?
No, ma'am. I did speak with my friends who were with us, and I know them all, and they...
Well, that's sort of hearsay, right?
Right.
But you know their names, don't you?
Yes.
And if I were to call them, do you think, Mr. Old, that they would tell me that they gave you money or they didn't give you money?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to ask you, sir.
I don't know. I mean, because some of them...
Mr. Old,
I don't speak to some of them.
No, but that's not my question, sir. I didn't ask whether you spoke to them, whether you dated them, whether you ate with them, whether you socialized with them. That's not of particular interest to me. My question to you is a simple one. This gentleman knows the names of all those people.
Mm-hmm.
You just testified a moment ago, and we put in your answer that nobody gave you money. But clearly this young man gave you $100 that you didn't put towards the hotel room.
No.
And you had your stay of $100 that you should have put towards the hotel room, and clearly you didn't do that, right?
Yes.
So my question to you is, if I were to go in my chambers and pick up the telephone and call any of the other people...
They would say they didn't pay me.
They would say they didn't pay you.
Yeah.
Can I have the names and telephone numbers of any one of those people?
Yes, ma'am.
You can do it.
Okay. It's Chris, I don't know his last name. And it's 337-5.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Okay. Well, according to Chris, he gave $75 to Norma. Didn't give any money to Jonathan. I don't know what kind of an arrangement he had. In any event, certainly I know that $200 should have been turned over to the plaintiff. $200 plus the $656.30 is $856.30. $656 is for his dental work. Anything else you want to tell me?
The hotel was under his name.
Yes.
And he was supposed to be, he was supposed to pay the bill.
He said nobody gave him any money. His money, his money. Got it? Don't use your credit card anymore. Use your credit card to get stiff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $856.30. Thank you.
Officer, excuse me. Step out.
Couldn't pay his bills.
Too much partying.
I still have credit card debt.
At least I should pay her.
22-year-old landscaper Robert Tony Strong is suing his ex-fiancée, 18-year-old activities director Camille Ramos, for crashing his Buick Regal and for impound fees. Camille says she wrecked the car because she was fleeing from Robert after he threatened to kill her.
Yes, this is case number 293 on the calendar, the matter of Strong versus Ramos. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Strong, how long did you and Miss Ramos live together?
For approximately almost 2 months.
And how long did you date prior to living together?
I'd say about 9 months.
It is your claim that after an argument, that Miss Ramos got into your car, drove it erratically, drove into a fence, and wrecked your car.
Correct.
You want her to pay for the damage. Ms. Ramos says that she got into your car because she was escaping an assault by you. And yes, she did go into a fence, but it was because she was fleeing the apartment because you were assaulting her. When did this happen?
August 19th, 2004.
Tell me about it, Mr. Strong.
Your Honor, that day I came home from work. We had gotten to a verbal argument.
About what?
About money.
What about money?
Basically, we didn't have no money.
So what were you arguing with each other about? Why don't you go get a job?
I had a job, Your Honor.
And she?
She was not working at the time.
So were you arguing with her because she didn't have a job?
She was arguing with me because I was not making enough money, not supporting us enough. Then we kept arguing. I told her I was going to leave the apartment. Went to go get my clothes from my bedroom.
You mean you were leaving her?
No, I was leaving the apartment for the night.
Oh, just for the evening?
Just for the evening.
Okay.
So everything calmed down. Went to go grab my clothes. As soon as I did that, she darted out the door, jumped in the car, and wrecked it, Your Honor.
Okay, can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, ma'am. Here's all the evidence right here. Just pictures. There's also pictures in there of her damage, Your Honor.
Now, after she darted out of the apartment into the car, what did you do?
I seen her getting into the car from our bedroom. I ran downstairs. By that time, she was already in the car, leaving the apartment recklessly, driving. I ran after her to tell her to stop. As soon as I started to run, she wrecked. I ran over there to see if she was all right. About that time, she ran out the passenger door, ran into the other side of the apartment complex. About that time, I got arrested.
Got arrested for what?
I got arrested, they said, for domestic violence.
All right, Ms. Ramos, let me hear your version of the events. August 19th, 2004, you were at the apartment at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. I actually arrived at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because the evening before I had to go to an appointment. Well, I spent the night at my mom's house, and that night...
What kind of an appointment?
I actually had to go... I had to go apply for general assistance because we weren't bringing in enough money, and he wasn't allowing me to work. I had to
What do you
sneak.
mean, just a second, what do you mean he wasn't allowing you to work?
He wasn't allowing me to work.
I don't understand. Put your hand down. I don't understand that.
He wouldn't allow me to go look for a job throughout the day. I would sneak to go look for a job. And
when was the last time you were employed?
Last time when I was employed, I was 16 years old. And that was at
How
Burger
old are you
King.
now?
I'm 18 now. And I am employed now.
Mr. Strong?
That is incorrect, Your Honor.
Okay.
I encouraged her numerous times to get a job.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me about it, Mr. Strong.
I even, to the point where I told her I would leave the, I would leave the car keys and everything, even to the point where I told her my mother would take her to go look for a job, Your Honor, while I'm at work.
What was the argument about on the 19th of August, Ms. Ramos?
By that point, I was just so fed up with barely making ends meet that we had to, penny pinch. We had hardly no food in the fridge. So I said, you know what, I'm going to apply for general assistance. Well, I didn't tell him that. I told my mom that. I went to spend the night at my mom's house that evening, and I didn't ask him or anything. I just packed my stuff up. By the time he got home from work, he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to my mom's house to spend the night. I have an appointment in the morning. Well, That evening when I was at my mom's house, he called me numerous times. His mom called me numerous times saying that Tony is here. I'm sorry, Robert. They call him Tony. Tony is here at the house. He, I don't know what's going on. He's pacing back and forth. I have no idea what's going on. I told her, well, I'm here at my mom's house. I had to leave for the evening because I have an appointment in the morning. Well, following evening, I went back home. The house was a mess. He wasn't home from work yet. The house was a mess. And finally, he walked in about 5:30, 5:15, and I was in the kitchen trying to clean stuff up. And he said, hi, babe. I didn't say anything to him. And he said, well, what's wrong? Why are you mad? I said, look at the house. Ask me why I'm mad. Look at what you did to the house. He said, well, oh, well. He said, you left me like a dog the night before, so I messed up the house. I said, that's no excuse to mess up the house. So he turned around and I said, you know what? I don't need this. I do not need you or this in my life. I picked up my house keys off the counter, which the house keys did have the extra set of car keys, my cell phone, and I started to walk out of the kitchen. He picked up a knife off of the table, started to tell me that he was going to kill me. He said, if you go and you leave me, I'll kill you. And he said, no, as a matter of fact, I'll kill myself. Started to push the knife into his neck and onto his wrist. At that point, I started screaming, and I was trying to pull it up so it wouldn't puncture him. Finally, he dropped it, and he went and he grabbed me by my neck and started pushing me up against the kitchen sink, in the corner of the kitchen sink and the stove. Started choking me. I finally pushed him off. When I pushed him off, he reached in to get a kiss. And I went like that. I said, you passed up that opportunity. And I started walking out of the kitchen. When I started walking out of the kitchen, he ran up to the front door. I got the front door open about this much. The neighbors seen me. I opened up the front door, and he went and grabbed me by my throat and pushed me up against the wall, slammed the front door. He said, you F&B, you're not going nowhere. He grabbed the cell phone out of my hand and threw it up against the wall. That's in the police report, too. The neighbors were hearing everything that was going on downstairs.
What the neighbors were hearing. Who called the police?
The neighbors.
You didn't call the police?
I did not call the police until I finally ran out of the house, but that was minutes later.
Where did you call the police from?
At the neighbor's house, but that was after I wrecked the car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Robert Tony Strong says ex-fiancée Camille Ramos wrecked his Buick Regal. Camille says she was fleeing from Robert after he threatened to kill her.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am. There are statements from witnesses that seen him hitting me. Sorry. It's a chunky one.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I never once hit her. Never.
He pleaded to domestic violence.
Not once did I hit her.
Speak.
The only reason I did plead to domestic violence, Your Honor, is because so I can get out of jail. I was facing 6 years in the penitentiary.
Listen to me, Mr. Strong. I didn't even ask you the question. You were arrested for domestic violence?
I was charged with domestic. I was charged with corporal injury to a spouse or companion, destruction of telephone or telegraphic, and terrorist threat.
How long had you been living in that apartment complex, sir?
For about, I'd say, a month and 3 weeks, so almost 2 months.
Do you know a woman by the name of Melinda?
I do not know, sir. Ma'am.
She's a neighbor of yours. Police interviewed her.
Okay.
This neighbor says she saw you push the defendant into a corner and you had your hands around her throat.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Okay.
I never once pushed her or grabbed her.
Your Honor, I have pictures of my injuries.
The police observed that the apartment was in a total state of disarray, sir. There was overturned furniture in the living room. There were broken parts of a cell phone in the closet in the bedroom. The bathroom door was taken off the hinges. Closet rod, which one uses for hanging clothes in the closet, was on the floor in the bedroom. How'd that happen?
That happened when I went to go grab my clothes, Your Honor. I was in my closet, and I went to go like this, bear hug all my clothes. When I did that, she pushed me into the closet.
You left that out.
I fell down, and that's how that curtain thing broke.
You left out the fact that she pushed you in the closet, Mr. Strong. How did the furniture get overturned in the living room?
I don't know about that one, Your Honor. When I came home...
How did the cell phone
get
broken in a lot of pieces, sir? How did that happen?
I don't know, Your Honor.
You don't know?
No.
You do know that you pled guilty to domestic violence?
Yes, I do know that.
Now, when you pled guilty to domestic violence, the judge asked you to make a statement as to exactly what you were pleading guilty to. What did you tell the judge you did on the 19th of August?
I just told the judge basically I defended myself. She came after me with a knife. I pushed her away, and after that, I went to go get my clothes out of my closet. She pushed me into the closet. She left, and that's when she jumped in the car, wrecked it, and
Mr.
I ran after her.
Mr. Strong, there are all different kinds of judges in this country, some brighter than others. None of them would have accepted the plea that you just outlined to me as a plea. I'm speaking! As a plea of guilty to domestic violence. Because what you said to me was that you pled guilty, although she was guilty of domestic violence. You must think that the whole world is stupid, including me.
Your Honor, that's...
Yeah, listen to me, sir. That never happened.
That did happen.
Never happened.
That did happen.
Mr. Strong, never happened in this country, sir.
Okay.
That's never.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that is what he told the judge.
I want to tell you something. You're his mother?
Yes.
Listen to me.
I was
to me.
in the court when he told the judge, and he's leaving out the fact that he had a cut from her cutting him with the knife.
Listen to me very, very carefully. I'm speaking. My mouth is moving. No jurist in this country would accept a plea as outlined by your son, because what he told me was she came at him with a knife. In response to that, he went to the closet to get his clothes and left. That's what you told me.
Correct.
Right? The police support her version of the events because they say that the apartment was a disaster, which is what she says in her statement. Not that you were just waiting for her to come home and you had a discussion about money that escalated into an argument. You never put your hands on her. In addition to that, your statement and your plea to domestic violence totally fall without what I consider any kind of reason or common sense, which leads me to believe that she was escaping from your assault. She was escaping from your assaulted behavior. Put your hand down. And as such, sir, if she was escaping and if she totaled your car because she was trying to get away from you, deal with it. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was planning to leave me and didn't know how to tell me, so that's how she did it.
I wasn't planning on leaving him. I was planning on bettering myself.
She had another boyfriend on the side.
When a lot of people weren't there for me, he was. But in the end, his true colors showed.
I am glad it's over, and now I can get on with my life.
For all those girls out there who you think that you need help from anyone, you don't need help from no one. You do it on your own just like I did it, and you'll make it. You'll make it with everything you got.
And now the next case. For breach of contract and copyright infringement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Hi. Case 2081, Kepper versus Fortenberry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Kerper, it is your claim that the defendant breached a contract with you. The contract was a verbal contract. And the nature of that breach was the defendant envisioned in his mind the lyrics to a song. That was his business. And he asked, according to you, he asked you to put music to the lyrics. Am I understanding that correctly?
The latter part is true. However, it was more than just a verbal contract. It's also in writing.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at it.
Okay.
That's important. And according to your complaint, you did in fact write the music.
Correct.
To his lyrics.
That is correct.
And you had an agreement in writing that you would share the profits of any exploitation of that song.
That is correct.
With him.
Yes.
And that he breached that agreement.
Yes, there's also an agreement that he would give me proper credit whenever he was using that.
So now I would like to see, if you say there was a written contract that's signed by both parties. That's what I want to see.
Okay. So this was the original version, which he offered me 25%.
Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Okay. This contract is pretty straightforward, and it's signed by both parties, and it says Luther Winston Fortenberry created a song, Baby I Got a Gun, and Charles Kerper, that's you, transcribed it to guitar.
Correct.
So what this contract says, I just want you to understand, Mr. Kerper, is that the defendant created the song, and you transcribed it to guitar. That's what it says. And that was written in January of 2016.
Correct.
It's signed by both people.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what you're showing me is something else.
How it started to change over time.
Listen to me. This was your written contract.
Right.
Any change in that contract, unless I could really find that there was a meeting of the minds with regard to it, has to be in the same formality. I'm telling you what this initial contract says. By the way, Mr. Fortenberry, this contract was written January 30th, 2016.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
Yes. When did you create this song? In what month and year?
About a year. I don't know exactly, but I was at a popular comedy store, and the manager of our show.
What show?
The Ding Dong Show.
What's the Ding Dong Show? When you said our show, was he involved in that?
Just with this transcription.
I was involved with other elements of the music as well, with Mr. Fortenberry.
Well, right now this says transcribe. And what I asked you, a simple question, when did you write this song?
At least a year before this contract.
At least a year before January 30th, 2016.
Yes. And I was singing it regularly a cappella at the club.
Okay. But you asked to transcribe it. That's what it says. Now, this was done at the time that you transcribed it to guitar.
I would argue I'd never transcribed it because...
That's it. Just a second. That's what this says. It doesn't say we'll transcribe it. It said transcribed it.
Correct.
To a guitar that they both agreed to submit for sale.
Correct.
Asking price will be $10,000 to rent and $10 million to sell it outright, and you will split it 75-25. That's what this says.
That is correct.
Now, did you ever rent it?
I never rented it or sold it.
Just a sec. Well, I'm asking you these questions. You never rented it?
No.
And $10 million to sell it outright, and you never sold it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it was neither rented nor sold, which was your original contract. And you have no proof to the contrary, that he neither rented it nor sold it.
I have evidence that he did use it in other
It doesn't say that you can't use it.
Right, that is correct.
Okay, now you want to show me, sir, because this is what your action is. You want to show me that this original agreement was somehow modified.
This is correct.
Okay, so I'd like to see what you have in writing.
Okay. So immediately after that was signed, about 4 or 5 days later, you have the papers that's stapled behind. I confronted Mr. Fortenberry and I said, this is not a transcribing project. This is a rewriting project. What he provided to me was not usable for transcription. And on the next page, we have a text message exchange that I highlighted where he
Well, just a
changes...
second. Shh.
Sorry.
Well, this is a text message from him to you.
Correct. And he
right?
acknowledged...
And well, just a second. That's not acknowledging. That's a text message from him to you. Do you have your response to this? You can't unilaterally change a contract that's in writing. I mean, if you have an offer and an acceptance.
Right.
So where is your response to this?
I don't believe I had a response in the history of messages I was able to retrieve, so...
Then this is irrelevant.
Okay.
So far, we have this. We have a writing signed by both parties, which is complete. It says what you did, what you will be paid in the event of a rental or a sale. Now, you want to show me something else?
So going forward, what he did was he registered the song with a registration company in San Diego. He did that without my knowledge.
Just a second. That's irrelevant. This is your contract. Show me where it's a violation of this contract. This contract says you transcribed it to guitar. If the version that you transcribed with a guitar is either rented or sold, you will get 25% of the revenue.
Right.
So we already went through that. You do not have any proof that he either rented it or sold it. It doesn't say that you will be given credit. It doesn't say what your credit will be. If you have a modification where he agreed that you will get certain credit and you accepted that, I will see that. Okay.
This is the most recent agreement signed in August 21st, 2018. It's dated August 8th.
Shh. I don't know what this means. Mr. Kerper agrees to release Mr. Fortenberry from any financial liability for work performed prior to the date of this document, that is prior to 2018. Mr. Kerper will be considered compensation for his time, costs, etc. Mr. Kerper has invested in this ongoing project to date. What did he pay you? Because it doesn't say here.
He didn't pay me anything. What he did was he gave me some camera equipment, which he'd promised me, which was outside of this project. And he gave me $300 as what was deemed a celebratory gift because we were wrapping
Oh,
this
no.
up to
That's
make
not
a
what
video.
this says, Mr. Kerper. Mr. Kerper, we read a contract literally.
Right.
This is a poorly crafted document, but it's clear in regards to Baby I Got Gun.
Right.
Mr. Kerper, that's you, agrees to release Mr. Fortenberry of any financial liability for work performed prior to the date of this document.
Correct.
Payment by Mr. Fortenberry to Mr. Kerper will be considered compensation for time, costs Mr. Kerper has invested in this ongoing project. And what you're telling me is the payment was some camera equipment and $300.
I would say it was not the camera equipment, it was the $300.
What the camera equipment?
This is some camera equipment I had sold him some of it prior, and he had offered it back to me as a gift because I had invested so much work into this project.
You got 5 more minutes of my time.
Okay.
You have no case.
I believe I do, ma'am.
No.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Sorry, you don't.
Charles Kerper claims musician Luther Fortenberry owes for breach of contract and copyright infringement.
Now, those are the 2 written contracts. You have any further modification of those contracts in writing?
Yes,
Just a second. I'll see them.
Okay.
This is a contract in writing, 2018. This is 2016. And this was agreed by both parties. So the last agreement was you got $300. Did you pay him $300?
$300 in camera equipment, about $1,500 worth.
Okay. He started to mention that, and then he backtracked. Okay. Next written contract after 2000.
That I wrote the music and I was not a transcriptionist.
Mr. Kerper is to be understood as the music man behind the music and not a transcriptionist. Well, who do you want that to be noted by? Mr. Kerper is to be understood as the music man with capital letters.
Right.
And I don't know what that means.
This was his wording.
Well, then you should have fixed the wording.
I should have, you're correct.
I don't know what a music man is. It's not a trademark, it's not a copyright, it's a nothing. I don't know what it means.
So I wrote the music, which is in the version which he's using currently. I wrote that from scratch. There was no transcribing.
That doesn't say that. Nothing here says that. The only thing this says is Luther Winston created this song, Baby I Got Gun. That says he created it, you signed it. You wanted to clarify it. You wanted to be known as the music man, not just the transcriber. I don't know what music man means. And you got paid pursuant to this, although it doesn't say this, but you acknowledge it. You got paid $300.
Okay. Also in that agreement, it also says that I'll be given credit in future uses. It says that.
As the music man. You want him to say you're the music man?
Credit, which he did not give me
Just
credit.
a second. You want him to say, whenever he performs the song, Baby You Got Gun, if he gets up to perform that, I wrote this song together with Mr. Kerper, and I want you to understand that he's the music man. It's interesting when people sign contracts and they have no idea what they're doing. Okay, let me see the next contract that you have.
So this is an agreement which is supposed to be a performance agreement with his producer from the comedy club.
Well, just a second. Let me take a look at it.
He's...
Shh. Well, this is exactly what this says. This says this agreement, and this is August of 2018. And who sent this, by the way?
Mr. Fortenberry sent that to me.
Okay, it said this agreement gives Luther the right to perform music as the opportunity arises. Luther is further released of any further financial responsibility or debt owed making music. Charlie Kerper will be referred to in the future as the music man. This payment will be for goods and costs making music for $300 and camera equipment. If any referral is made in the future as said music above, Charlie Kerper will be given those credits.
Correct.
Okay? He sent that to you. Where is your response?
So he sent that back to me on August 8th.
Just a second.
Okay.
He sent this to you. So I would like to see your response to this. I agree to your terms. I disagree with your terms. If you agree with the terms, then I might accept that as a modification of a contract. If you say I disagree with the terms, then there is no modification. We go back to these 2 signed agreements.
Correct.
Where is your response to that?
Can I explain what happened after that? He's emailed that to me. I was here in LA, and I didn't have an opportunity to entirely go over it, but we were trying to meet with him at a restaurant and also at the museum to have this resolved. So I had my phone only to look at it, and he was playing hardball with me that day. So he sent me these emails saying he had signed these agreements, which included making referral to me and clarifying that I did in fact write the music, which he claims I transcribed.
I need your response to him. If
Okay.
there is no response, we have these two agreements.
So the response was this. That night, he finally agreed to meet with us.
In writing.
Yes.
I want what you sent to him in response to this email.
Well, I called him on the phone and I said, can we meet so we can sign this and put this fast so the music video could be moved forward? And he wanted a performance agreement so there wasn't any questions whether or not they could use the music in the video. So I arrived at his apartment. He made us wait outside for half an hour.
Okay,
When we came down-
Mr. Kerper, I really don't care.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not relevant.
Yeah.
What's relevant is if you had a subsequent offer and acceptance to a new contract, a modified contract that he made via email, and you responded to him via email that I accept those terms, or if you sent it to him and said, these are the terms I want, and he wrote back and I accept your terms, unless you have that, you got paid $300 and some equipment. You got paid. Right. And according to this contract, when referring to this music and referring to you, he has to refer to you as, in capital letters, the Music Man.
Correct. Giving me credit. Correct.
No, he has to refer to you as the Music Man.
It says here in this contract, I'm sorry, if any referrals made in the future as to who wrote and performed parts of said music above, Charlie Kerper will be given those credits.
Yeah, as a Music Man.
No, it does not say Music Man here.
Where?
It should say it in the, not that one. Not that one either, the other one.
There's no other, I only have two written contracts.
This is his original email to me that he sent me before the contract
I don't
we're
want-
discussing, and it has my response. I have my response attached to it here. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Who wrote, your offer is hostile and very lowball for what you're asking?
I wrote that.
I reject it.
Absolutely.
I'm not interested in selling.
That is correct.
Well, that doesn't modify. That means he made you a subsequent offer after these two agreements. You said, I don't like that offer. So there was no change in these two written contracts, one of which called for payment, which you acknowledge you received in the form of $300 and camera equipment.
Charles Kerper is accusing musician Luther Fortenberry of breaking their contract. Luther claims he already paid Charles for his services.
Mr. Kerper, I want you to understand, you're looking at papers. What you're not understanding is, if you are going to modify a written contract, you have to do it with another contract in which there is an offer and an acceptance. He made an offer to you in this. You rejected the offer in your response.
Actually, that email he sent first, he worded it differently, and that's
It
the point
doesn't
I'm
matter.
trying to
You
make.
rejected it.
I rejected the part that included the sale.
Just a second. You can't take pieces of what he says. If you're going to modify a contract, which is clear, or as clear as it can be if two lay people write it, and which has been executed and fulfilled by terms in here, you have to have a modified contract.
Correct.
This is not a modified contract. He says to you, this is what I'm going to do, and you said to him, I reject it. It's a low ball offer. So we're going to get back to, is there a subsequent modification that says, in addition to the $300 and the camera equipment and the fact that I will refer to you if I refer to anyone when he's singing the song, which I've never heard. I've heard of patter, where somebody talks about patter, and so-and-so wrote the song, and he wrote it when he was mourning the death of his dog, and then sings the song. That's patter. That's what I understand patter is, the chatter before. So if he was going to chatter about who wrote the song, he'd have to say, and the man behind the music is Mr. Music Man. That's all this says. And he's never sold it, and he's never rented it that you can establish.
He has used it in film production?
He can use it.
Your contract doesn't prevent him from using it, sir.
The final, I'm sorry, but the first one I gave you is the final. That was what led up to the...
No, this is a clarification, because you asked, right? And this is your final payment, $300, and camera equipment, because that's what you both agree that you got. There is no modification.
There is, though.
Well, then show me.
On the top line of the final, it says it'll be used exclusively in the Ding Dong Show and nowhere else without permission, and that is what is...
Just a second. It says this agreement gives Luther Bambury the right to perform name music in the Ding Dong Show and the promotional video.
Correct.
And?
That's it.
So?
So that is what he's limited to as far as performance.
Okay. And?
And he went and used my music in other productions without consulting me. Okay. I also have lyric sheets showing that...
Listen to me, sir.
Yes.
I've already explained to you what this case is about. It's a contract case.
Okay.
I'm not going to half a century ago.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you is you have no modification of a contract unless there's an offer and acceptance. The only two contracts you have are here. I absolutely read this, and it says this agreement gives Luther Fortenberry the right to perform music named in the Ding Dong Show and promotional video.
Correct.
That's what it says. You say he used it in other places.
That is correct.
There's no remedy if he uses it in other places. You only have a remedy, sir, if he sells it or rents it. And you're not asking for injunctive relief. There's no action.
He did with it, to be honest.
What?
I don't know what he's done. I've asked him for a complete statement of where he's used this and what payment.
Mr. Carper.
Yes.
You're the plaintiff.
Yes.
It's not his burden. It's your burden. What you're saying is he was limited to using it on one particular program, according to this, and promotional. And he's used it in other places. And I said, put your hand down. When it doesn't appear that you're losing, you're supposed to keep your mouth closed. It's your burden to show me that he used it in other places. That's first.
Okay.
Show me.
I can do that. Just, I have the papers. I had it quite orderly before I came into court, and its nerves happen.
You can look for it, sir. I'm just advising you that your action is for breach of contract. That's what you filed. Right now, I have two contracts. One contract was fulfilled with the payment of $300 and camera equipment. There is an agreement here, however, that says he can use that music on certain things. It doesn't say exclusively on certain things. He says he can use it on the Ding Dong Show and promotional video. I assume promotional video, if you're inferring what that means, is for the Ding Dong Show. Now, it doesn't say it. If he uses the music someplace other than the Ding Dong Show and promotional video and he gets paid for it, I get a certain amount of money. Your original contract provides for a 75-25 split if the music is rented or sold.
Right.
That's what it provides for.
So when I accepted the payment on the contract, that was with the notion that he was going to give me credit in the future, which he has not done.
Okay. We're done here, Mr. Kerper. It's unfortunate, but you are back. You have one in 2018, and you have one in 2016. The one in 2016 is crystal clear. You're a transcriber, and as a transcriber, you will get 25% if the music is either rented or sold. Subsequently, there was a writing that says you don't want to be known as the transcriber. You want to be known as the music man.
Your Honor,
so
I did not transcribe anything. I wrote the music,
okay.
and that's
Mr.
why
Carper, we're done. You got paid $300 for writing the music and camera equipment. We're done. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
Mr. Fortenberry approached me to transcribe a piece of music he...
Well, I'm sorry she had to listen to so many lies.
...presented me as completed, which it was not.
And I'm glad she had something in print, like contracts.
I helped develop the lyrics further and also write the music.
I hoped that he would see the truth.
Well, there's always more songs, isn't there?
And correct his lies.
While I really appreciate that these two plaintiff and defendants had a written contract, it's always a risk as a layperson to write a contract yourself. It has to be fully integrated, all the points have to be hit, and one major part that was lacking here was a remedy section. So if the plaintiff is claiming that he deserves some sort of credit or some sort of payment for a show or an exploitation of the song going forward, there needs to be a sentence, at least, that's a meeting of the minds as to what's going to happen if that condition is not met.
In the future, because the contract, the second contract in 2018, clearly said he was paid. And he was
And
paid,
he signed it.
And he signed it. He was paid $300 and some camera equipment. The defendant said it was worth $1,500. I don't know whether it was or it wasn't. Anyway, it was inartfully done. You have to give them credit for trying.
Yes.
For trying. You know, they're music people. They're artists.
Yeah. Language and specifics and details is more our forte as lawyers.
More important, it's so frightening that I think I have a memory somewhere back here of the Ding Dong Show. So I'm going in the back now and look up the.
Amari Garcia is suing fellow motorist April Tarrant for damages from a motorcycle accident.
This is a case that's about an automobile-motorcycle collision. Each one of you claims that the other is responsible for the collision. Ms. Garcia, you were riding the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And this happened on what date?
March 21st, 2022, around 3 p.m.
In what state?
California.
In the state of California, are you required to have insurance on a motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just liability?
Liability if it's paid for in full, correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And were you insured on that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were driving a car?
Yes.
And was your car insured on March 21st, 2022?
Not at the time.
So the answer is no?
No.
Did you have a valid driver's license on March 21st, 2022?
Yes.
From what state?
California.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Nissan Sentra.
Was it a new car for you, or did you have it for a while?
It's a new car. I purchased it 3 weeks prior to the incident.
And if you bought it 3 weeks before, how come you didn't have liability insurance?
I was looking for insurance, and plus, at the time, I hadn't received my paperwork. It was still in the other person's name.
Your Honor.
I hadn't.
You know you're not supposed to be driving a car, Miss Tarrant, without insurance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I have proof that April Tarrant purchased her vehicle February 8th, 2022. She drove uninsured for 41 days, and it was not from a lot. It was from someone off the street. I have the proof for that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. For $2,050.
Well, this car that you registered, the selling price was $2,050, according to this.
No, it wasn't. And
well, I'm going to show you vehicle and transfer law. This is 2011 Sentra, and it was signed, but it's LLC. That's his company.
Okay.
So it wasn't off the street, but it said the selling price was $2,000. That's what this says.
I don't have my paperwork in my car.
Want to show this to her? I just want to get some basic facts first, and then I'm going to go to the incident. Oh, the person, the seller.
And you know, I have my paperwork in my car.
Well, but you understand that that's
I understand what you said because it's right there.
That's
yes.
Okay, we have a diagram. This happened on March 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You had no insurance, and you were traveling in the bike lane.
No, that is not true. I shared the lane of the car on the right. I would never go into a bike lane. That is disrespectful to the road and riders.
Just a second. Are you allowed to share a lane with a car and a motorcycle?
That is your right, yes.
I know Foothill. Is that where you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at a certain time during the day, Foothill becomes very trafficked.
Yes.
And the cars sometimes get stopped because there's a light, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go over to there, Miss Garcia, and show me, please, where you were positioned before you say that you were traveling in the same lane as a car.
Your Honor, I was directly behind this car.
Okay.
Directly behind.
You were directly behind that car.
Yes.
And that car was stopped.
They were slowing to a stop.
No, they were stopped because they had to have been stopped because that's why you went around him.
They were slowing to a stop. By the time I got around here, they were slowing down. I was around 25 miles per hour. This lane at the time was too close. So I shared this lane on this side.
Miss Garcia, I got it, Miss Garcia. You want me to appreciate the fact that you wanted to get around the stopped car and you wanted to continue to go straight, correct? You weren't turning. You wanted to go straight.
I was going straight, correct.
And so you want me to picture in this tiny mind of mine that instead of going into a perfectly clear bike lane, you inched your way at 25 miles an hour in the same lane as a stopped car.
Yes.
Right.
This diagram.
You know, I find that hard to believe, Ms. Garcia. I really find that hard to believe. You may be in the right with regard to this, but I find it hard to believe.
The roads are very wide. I have the actual police photo document of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, Your Honor. Right here.
And I'd like to see the police report as well. Is there a police report?
It's attached to this.
Fine. Because as you were traveling straight, the defendant was making a left turn. Now, I don't know whether she could see whether it's a motorcycle or a bicycle traveling in the bike lane, but what happened was she was making a left turn. According to this, you went into her passenger side. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it.
What are you driving around in now?
1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl!
Amari Garcia is accusing fellow motorist April Taryn of damaging her motorcycle. April claims Amari was illegally driving in the bike lane.
Who was in the car with you, Miss Taryn?
My son and his girlfriend.
One of them had an injury.
Yes. My son's girlfriend, she was in the driver's passenger side. And while I was turning into the lane, I just felt a crash and saw glass going into my car. And then she was cut.
Okay. And you had an injury to your knee?
Yes, I have several injuries. And I have photos as well.
You understand, Miss Taryn, that the police interviewed the stopped cars.
Yes.
And at the end of all of their interviewing process, they determined that you were the cause of the collision. That's what it says.
And I don't...
It says that you caused the collision by violating Vehicle and Traffic Law 21-8001, failure to yield when making a left turn. I determined the cause based upon the parties involved and the physical evidence. That's what the police determined. Okay. Well, then that's an easy, based upon the police report, because each of you are going to tell two different stories about what happened that day. Police were there. They looked at the physical evidence. They looked at the injuries. They looked at the damage to the roadway. They interviewed independent witnesses, and that was their determination.
I understand, Judge, but the police report had some inconsistencies where, like, she was driving in the bicycle lane, which is against the law. And what I was doing, I was making the left turn, as you know. And these two front cars, which one of them was a witness.
Yes, that car paused to let you make a left turn.
Yes.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
That's what you say. That's not what this says.
See, but they both did. And as I was...
I'm just telling you.
No, I know.
Yeah,
that's what
I'm just telling you. That's not what this is. That's what you say. There was nothing that prevented those two cars from going.
Exactly.
There wasn't a traffic light. There wasn't a stoplight at that spot.
Yes.
And there was heavy traffic.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to make sure if you're making a left turn that you have to yield to all oncoming traffic. And so the fact that you didn't see her is really not relevant. And as long as you understand that this police report supports Miss Garcia's claim that you caused this accident by making a left turn when you shouldn't have been making a left turn, that's what this says. And that, you know, at the end of the day, it's an accident. That's why it's not called an on purpose. It's called an accident. Neither one of you anticipated it. As far as I'm concerned, Ms. Garcia, you're entitled to be compensated, but I'm going to suggest this to you. If I'm driving a motorcycle, which I would never do, just for me, I think it's wacky. I think there are enough crazy people driving around that I like about 2,000 pounds of steel around me, so that if somebody who is not paying attention and there's an accident, I like to be safe. My first car when I was 17, all my convertibles, and my father bought me a 15-year-old blue and white Cadillac sedan. It was so embarrassing to drive around in that car. It was a boat. Oh, come on. Everybody else is getting these cute little Corvettes, even if they're used ones. And my father, who loved me a lot, said to me, sweetheart, if you get into the accident, I want you to come out unscathed. And this ensures that you got a shot if you get into an accident. And I feel better. So I'm just telling you, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, don't take shortcuts. I know this place on Foothill, and I know what happened here. You know, you wanted to go. There was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse. What was the damage to your motorcycle?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them, Your Honor?
I would.
I did look it up. Lane splitting motorcycles is legal in California.
Okay, I know. I see the pictures. So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it. They sold it for $70 they claim, and I got hit with collections afterwards. I have the bill for that if you'd like to see that.
How much did you pay for it?
$6,407.
Do you have the bill?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
For my motorcycle, what I paid for, correct?
Yes, what you paid for it. What are you driving around in now?
A 1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl! Atta girl. Okay. I'm giving you the value of the motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's just $6,407. I'm not splitting whose fault this was, actually, but I'm not awarding you any punitive damages for her. She had injuries in her car. You were slightly injured, but both of you seem fine now. I don't think that you were careful enough when you were going straight and around that car that was stopped. But the defendant didn't have insurance, and she was cited by the police for violation of a traffic law. So I'm giving you the cost of your motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
So I actually...
It was really frightening.
I hit the ground. I hit on my elbow.
I've never experienced that before.
I was really scared. I thought, like, oh, this is it. My legs are out.
And like I said, I was being cautious, and
thankfully I wasn't.
But it ended up in that kind of situation.
Definitely more safely as far as better gear, and, you know, like she said, don't take a shortcut or anything of that sort.
So I looked up lane splitting, and in California, it's one of the few states that allows it for motorcyclists. It does say inexperienced riders shouldn't attempt it because, like we see, it's very easy to get hit or for someone not to see you if you're splitting between lanes, but it is legal, so she wasn't in the wrong by lane splitting, but I think it was a sticky situation. You're behind a car, someone's turning.
What does it say if you're injured?
It does say on the Highway Patrol website that you're splitting at your own risk, so any injuries that happen are at your own risk.
So they say if you are lane splitting, it's not illegal, but if you have injuries as a result of an accident, if you're lane splitting, you're responsible for your own injuries.
It doesn't say it in a legal.
Howard Verbrick is suing his former customers, Angela and Jimmy Bias, for loss of income and the cost of a wolf dog.
Mr. Verbrick, what do you do for a living?
I'm an auto mechanic.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
When did you get into breeding and selling wolf dogs?
Approximately 8 years ago.
Why?
I found the animals fascinating.
Why would any normal person want to own with 219 breeds or more in this country, in the world of dogs? Why would you take a dog that is in part, and you don't know what part, wild wolf?
Howard Verbrick claims his owe for the cost of a wolf dog. Angela and Jimmy are countersuing for harassment.
This is your case. The defendants purchased one of your puppies several years ago.
One, yes.
And a couple of years later, according to you, they were looking for a second dog.
Yes.
Did they contact you?
Yes.
By phone?
Through messaging.
Which you have?
Yes.
Okay. And I will take a look at it at an appropriate time. That they were looking for, I think they were looking for a male, they had had a female.
Correct.
And you were prepared to accommodate that. Did you give them a price for the dog?
Yes.
What was that?
Yes, it was.
To what?
Angela thought that the $800 was a little expensive, and
How much had they paid for the first dog?
$500.
Okay.
The reasoning being they helped me sell some.
No, just years before, they had paid $500. You were asking $800 for this male.
It was $800 back then also. Under the circumstances, if they help me sell animals, then I would give them a deal. and
Did
cut
they
the
do
price.
that for you the first time that
Yes,
they?
ma'am.
So the first time that they bought a puppy from you, they paid $500 and assisted you in finding owners for other puppies.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Second time, you asked for $800.
Yes,
And then did you make the same deal with them?
I did.
How many puppies did you have?
At the time, I had 6.
Did they casual to come over and pick one, unless you only had one male?
Sometimes. I've sold other people animals throughout the United States by pictures only and updated photographs.
On what date did you go and pick up your puppy?
He dropped the puppy off to us on, I think it was March 22nd.
How far does he live from you?
About 40 miles, 30
So
miles.
you could have easily gone to see the litter.
Yes, correct.
So you chose for him to drop the puppy off.
Well, he kind of messaged us, and we had a phone conversation where he stated that he couldn't feed the puppies anymore.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. I know you have a script that you want to tell me about because you have something in your head, but that's not what I asked you. Cut the litter of puppies.
Correct.
And picked out which one you wanted.
Correct.
You chose to have him deliver it to you.
Yes.
That was my question. He delivered to you a male puppy. How old was the puppy you delivered to them?
Approximately 9.5 weeks.
I don't know if that's an appropriate time for wolf dog puppies, but 10 weeks is a reasonable time to separate puppies from the litter and their mother. I know that that's not what I went to law school for, but you require a certain amount of nonsense information over the course of a lifetime. Anyway, did they pay you for that dog?
No.
What was the arrangement?
According to Angela, I got 3 different amounts. She was going to give me a $100 deposit and $100 a week, a $150 deposit, then $100 a week, and a $200 deposit and $100 a week. I got nothing.
At what purchase price?
She was thinking the $500 when I was asking the $800.
That's not what I said. Did you ultimately make an arrangement with her for $500? Okay, let's be direct. So you agreed to make them the same deal with this dog as you made with the last.
Correct.
Which is, I'll give you if you help find other potential prospects for the other puppies.
Correct.
So purchase price was $500, and they did find you other people for the puppies.
1, yes.
Well, they found one. It wasn't specified. They found one. And did you place that puppy?
Yes.
This is what your lawsuit is about. You say that she didn't pay you any money, and the people who you placed the other dog with did not finish paying you.
Correct.
Well, they're not responsible for that person. They're not responsible for that person unless you gave them the puppy off.
I dropped the puppy off at their house.
Then that's your problem. Okay. So then what we're dealing is the $500 that you claim they owe you for the dog.
Oh, plus potential loss of income.
Oh, no, yeah. Be ridiculous. Okay, $500. Let me hear your excuse.
I think that the dog has been abused, and I have video proving.
And?
The male won't ever come around.
Just a second. And?
The male does not like males. What he'll do is he will cower at the sight of any male. He's very aggressive when he goes to take food from you.
He was 10 and a half weeks old.
We've had him for 8 months now, and we still can't touch him.
But you got him, and he was 9.5 weeks old.
And he's still the same.
You got him when he was 9.5 weeks old. So that's not a reason not to pay for him. You still have him.
He needs proper care, and we don't feel like we should pay anything.
No.
Not with what we have to deal with the dog.
Pay him $500 for a dog. You have the dog, and you have to pay him the $500 for the dog. That's it. It's an easy case. That was your contract. You didn't make a contract with him for a dog that had a nice disposition. Just pay careful attention. If you want a dog that guarantees you practically a nice disposition, buy a golden doodle, not a wolf. Buy a golden doodle.
Gotcha.
Buy a Shih Tzu. You want a big dog? What's another big dog?
Golden Retriever.
Buy a Golden Retriever. But if you people are odd enough to think that wolf dogs make good pets, not knowing are wolf dogs good pets, because I get my cases early and I say, why would any normal person want to own with 219 breeds or more in this country, in the world of dogs? Why would you take a dog that is in part, and you don't know what part, wild wolf? Why would you do that? If your animal is aggressive, go look at its history. Because sometimes they'll grow up to be friendly, nice dogs, like the first one you had.
First one I have is very well with our kids.
You know, this one, I'm going back to my wolf roots. Well, so Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
We more or less rescued this dog.
The dog had no issues before.
He cowers down to any sight of a male.
That's just a totally false statement.
It's to the point where he's got to get a trainer.
I hope that it is taken care of, and if they don't want the answer.
Just another example of people who maybe not, looked into the history of a dog, a wolf dog. And if you read about it...
I did a little before the case.
Yeah. And it said that a wolf dog is a mix between a wild dog and a domesticated dog. And they list the names of the kinds of dogs that they have been bred with over the course of the years. But in that kind of situation, you don't know how much wolf you're getting.
It's a risk.
You could be getting 8% wolf. You could be getting 50% wolf. You really don't know. I think that there are some jurisdictions where they don't allow them to be sold as domesticated pets.
I think there are.
I'm really sorry. Thank you. I need attachments.